15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets have a year and a half, maybe, give or take. Year and a half to win a Super Bowl, Perloff. This is what this trade was all about. It's not about now just, making Rodgers feel comfortable or whatever. Super Bowl expectations back on the table for the Jets. Even with a 2-4 record, this has to be the standard after the big move for Davante Adams. Yesterday, he gets traded to New York. It was not that shocking, but it did get done.
The standard.
The standard. That's the standard now, Super Bowl.
Just using the word the standard and the Jets is kind of odd.
It's a new day.
Wow. That is a quick promotion from 2-4 to the standard is the Super Bowl. You mean getting the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl?
Whatever. Getting there. Whatever happens in the Super Bowl. The standard is making it to that final game. And
wow.
Then, hopefully winning it. But that was the reason why Rodgers was originally brought into the Jets.
Yeah,
that was originally the goal that he stated. Then the Achilles kind of, put a little left turn into that. It's back on.
You sound
Super
like
Bowl is back on.
You're going to take this as an insult, but you sound like Woody Johnson.
I am insulted by that.
Super Bowl's back on.
I'll take his bank account.
Okay. See, this is the problem with Jets fans. I'm not saying you're a Jets fan. You're a Bills fan. But obviously this seems like irrational optimism, kind of like Shad Khan in Jacksonville, Woody Johnson in New York, Jerry Jones in Dallas. Yeah. I feel like not every team can really have realistic expectations of the Super Bowl. And I think that's just way too much to put on the Jets. And I think that's what the Jets have been living with. And that's why they're so bitterly disappointed all the time.
Okay, well then you think this is going to be a bust because there's not you brought in Davante Adams. You fired your head coach. You're doing all this stuff because you feel like it's early enough in the season to still turn this thing around.
Well, I think we're talking like their schedule's so bad they might sneak into the wild card. That's like that's the standard.
Well, however you get in the playoffs is fine. I mean,
2021 Brandon Staley Chargers is the standard.
Oh God. Well,
I mean that's what we're talking. Like 9-8 get into the playoffs. We're not talking Super Bowl standard. That's like where the Chiefs live.
Okay, well, why did Rodgers come to the Jets then?
Because nobody else wanted him.
Well, or because he felt like this was a roster that a lot like Tom Brady going to Tampa may have been like a little bit of a sleeping giant. The defense was very good and has actually been good. I know Buffalo ran all over them on Monday night, but this actually is a talented defense or has the capability of being one. And, they say, well, what's Davante Adams going to do, for this offense? I think the answer is a lot. And it's not like you're sitting back there with a quarterback who's a zero. You have this chemistry that the two of them have together that just Rodgers has not been able to develop with Garrett Wilson, whether it's because his injury took time off the table or whatever. You have a built-in relationship. And for the way that Rodgers plays quarterback, that's everything. He's not like, hey, go and I'll just pitch you the ball and we'll just play a little backyard like we're Mahomes and Kelsey. He's not like that. He's precision. He's chemistry. It's like you have to be able to read Rodgers' mind. Garrett Wilson can't read his mind yet. Davante Adams can.
I just think there's two problems off the top of my head. Well, three major problems.
Okay, what's that?
No, actually four as I think of. No, let's go to five.
Okay, do I need like a sheet of paper to write these
Number
down?
one, I just think Rodgers is going to need time to get fully healthy. I think this was the recovery year. I think next year is the all-in year. Okay. Number two, I'm not sure, and I have to Google this. Has an interim coach ever reached a Super Bowl? The coaching staff is a mess. Number three, the defense is slightly disappointing because they don't have a pass rusher. They lost Bryce Huff in free agency. I mean, he's not doing anything in Philadelphia. And I'm still a little dubious that Hassan Reddick will get there and be productive. It might take a while.
Well, now he's looking for a trade.
Number four, obviously, their kicker is a major problem. Yeah. I think he's got the yips. And number five is the helmet. The helmet says Jets.
Oh. Overcoming history. Right.
History.
Okay.
And number five is the most important thing. It's the Jets, Maggie. Come on. Yeah. Even as you say that, it's like they find a way. They're the most creative 2-4 you've ever seen in your life. Like it took honestly effort to lose that game on Monday night. It took effort to lose to Bo Nix with -7 yards at halftime a couple weeks ago in the Meadowlands. Like, It is incredible the way the Jets find the banana peel. I can't. What's up with Aaron Rodgers and accountability, and what's up with is the coaching staff working for Rodgers or is he working for them? And what's the deal with the owner coming around saying like, "Man, this Super Bowl's back on"? Some of his quotes are outrageous. He sounds like the new Jerry Jones. And what is the deal, by the way, with the defense? Like, why did they let these third-string Buffalo Bills running backs get 5 yards down the field without contact? What's going to happen when they face Pittsburgh? There's just so many deals here that I just can't have your optimism.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. I mean,
but the interim coach thing is also a huge thing. Is it an interim coach? Ryan Botcher's here today. Can you look up, has an interim coach ever reached the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think we know the answer to that. Isn't Rich Bisaccia the only interim coach who's ever made the playoffs?
Is that true? In the history of the NFL?
I don't know about the history of the NFL. Maybe we're going the last 25 years. But, yeah, Ryan
Only two teams have made the playoffs. 2021 Raiders and 1961 Houston Oilers.
Well, that was just a wagon of a team.
That was AFL.
You want to be a part of
Only two teams with interim coaches have made the playoffs.
After Gruden got released or fired for what he did in
Right.
Vegas, they made the playoffs.
So none of the other coaches were midseason replacements at all. That's unbelievable.
Well, because usually when you fire your coach, your season's over. This is a very different circumstance. Usually you fire the coach, you're 1-7. You know, Jerry Jones talking yesterday about when he fired Wade Phillips. They were 1-7. That was a midseason fire. You know, you don't generally fire the coach when a team is 2-3 and one game out from first place in the division. So can I address all of your concerns tick by tick here?
Please.
Okay. Rodgers' health is your first one.
Definitely.
Okay. Do you really feel like you're seeing effects of the Achilles? He can't move around, but Perloff, he's also 40. Like, you don't want him moving around back there. So, you know, his knee's banged up, his ankle's banged up. That's just the reality of the NFL. He's still healthy enough to get out there and play. That's number one. Number two,
but I also feel like he's close to another injury.
Well, we'll see. That the offensive line is, you know, that you didn't put that in your laundry list here.
I meant to. I was sorry. There was just too many things flying into my brain. Go ahead.
The coaching staff. Okay. Yes, the coaching staff is a problem. Again, you have a 40-year-old Hall of Fame quarterback. That should make up for the delta of like the inexperience of the head coach. But you have a unique situation with the quarterback who not only has the knowledge, wants to give it to everybody, wants to take control. So you have like a coach on the field.
What happened? That didn't work with Robert Saleh.
Well, Rodgers got hurt, and it was like they were 2-3 with Rodgers and Robert Saleh. We never really saw it with Rodgers and Robert Saleh. So, and I think we all kind of agree that they pulled the trigger probably too quickly on Robert Saleh. So I would say jury's still out. The fact that you have Rodgers on the coaching staff is a good thing. The defense being disappointing. It's a lot of the same guys. So something tells me that could be fixable. When's the last time Josh Allen was as comfortable as he was on Monday night? I mean, he really didn't look like he cared one iota about the pass rush. Well, but I've seen bigger Josh Allen games in terms of offense. I've seen way more explosive. I've seen him make defenses look way worse. I can't remember a single. The Jets, also, the penalties were bananas on Monday night. I can't remember a single play where he got knocked off his base. Like you want to see Josh Allen be good? Put on that Dolphins tape. That's what he can do to a defense. Right, but I'm just saying, like he walked out with a very clean uniform on Monday night. Number 4, the kicker. That can be replaced. You can replace Greg Zuerlein. You can get a guy in there. I'm surprised we haven't heard it. They should have someone in there tomorrow. If he's got the yips, or even if he doesn't, if he needs to be replaced, that's a quick thing that teams do all the time. And number 5, you said the history, the helmet. It's the Jets. They'll never be able to overcome their feudal history and their terrible bad luck and just bad energy, mojo, all that stuff. I agree with you. I do. And I think it's hard, especially when it's the same owner, to really like change the vibe. However, I've seen teams like the Detroit Lions. They didn't change ownership. They were a laughingstock. 0-16. I mean, terrible. And they found a way to become relevant again. I've seen, for as bad as Cleveland is now, there actually was some stability. Baker Mayfield, they do go to the playoffs and win a playoff game.
Oh, my God. Baker Mayfield, Brown stability?
They went to the playoffs and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that means something to those fans. I've seen In other sports, I watched the Cubs be terrible. I watched the Red Sox be terrible. I watched my Buffalo Bills be a laughingstock. I've seen so many teams that have been punchlines that have turned it around.
But those teams all rebuilt. Like, they ripped everything old out and brought in everything new, and it took time. Like the Red Sox, for example, just changed the way they did everything. The Lions changed the way they did everything. Feels like the Jets are still operating on the same modus operandi.
Well, I don't know if that's true because, again, we've only really seen 6 games of Aaron Rodgers. That's it. And now they just, with this team, and now they've just brought in his favorite guy. So I'm more positive on this, obviously, than you are. I'm curious what the listeners think at 855-212-4227. Is this the change that's going to help now turn the season around for Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think you said that's turn the season around is one thing. Make the wild card, maybe. Get Super Bowl as a standard. See, that's where I think that the hysteria around Aaron Rodgers is very unrealistic.
I don't, because I don't think when he first came to the building, remember when he got traded and he sat there and he goes, that Lombardi trophy from 1969 is looking a little lonely, right? 68, 69, whatever. That it's looking a little lonely. I don't think anyone at that point was like, ha, you're a joke. There's no way. I think people thought, yeah, Rodgers, this makes a lot of sense. And we watched Matthew Stafford do it. And we watched Tom Brady do it. And we watched guys switch teams and win with rosters that we didn't think were quite ready to win. Maybe the Rams, but maybe not. And so if it wasn't a joke a year and a half ago, I don't know why it'd be a joke now when they just got better.
Because they're 2-4, and you just watch them doink 2 short field goals on Monday Night Football.
Okay,
they lost to the Broncos, Maggie, and that's, by the way, a big loss because that's a home loss against an AFC team. They're going to be. It's going to come down the wire to get that last wild card spot, assuming the Bills win the division.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible loss. I totally understand. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the losses. They lost 32-19 to San Francisco, but that was not this like massive blowout of a game, and that's on the road, and San Francisco's way better. Okay, the Broncos, they lost by a point. It totally stinks. I can't. It was inexcusable. It was
raining. No, there was an excuse. It was raining, but that still is a very painful loss standings-wise.
It is. It was also week 4. I don't think any loss that early is going to have this massive impact because you still have so many division games left on your schedule. You lose in London. It's a 1-score game, despite the fact that Rodgers threw 3 interceptions. And what happens in London is such a crapshoot. I don't think that's so big. And then you lost to the Bills 23-20 in a game you definitely should have won. So all these losses have been just 1 score.
Sure.
They're right there.
Yeah, they're right there. They're like around a 500 team.
No, I mean right there, like they actually would have been 4-2.
Yeah, no, they easily could be 4-2, but I'm generally like they're flirting. They're going to be in a lot of close games, and they're probably going to be around 8-9, 9-8. That's how I see this team, and only because of the schedule. The problem is they have no margin for error, and they got to win on the road a lot.
That is
like
true.
They have to. Like this is already. I hate to say must win when it's not the Super Bowl. Our buddy Dave Damashek would get mad at us.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is as must win as you get. And I have some concerns about Davante Adams. Very specific concerns.
What's that?
He took a red eye to get to New York and was there in the morning. And for me, when you're older, like me and Davante Adams, it takes days to get over a red eye. Days. So, but actually be realistic here, is he, and I'm curious to see, is he fully integrated and ready to go week 1 after just arriving there on Tuesday morning? That's a lot to ask to be full speed right there.
Well, let's hear from Davante Adams. Ryan, can I get cut 8, please? Davante Adams crashed a interview with Pat McAfee. I swear to you, an asteroid could be hurtling towards the Earth, and Rodgers would do that McAfee interview. How much are they paying him? Like last week?
Probably nothing. He's probably paying them to get on there. That guy can not stay away from a mic.
No, so last week they fire Robert Saleh on a Tuesday, so he postponed the interview to Wednesday. Okay. I mean, the whole building's upside down. Like you postponed it maybe 24 hours. Then Davante Adams is in the building yesterday. Bogish had a funny line as we're in the newsroom. He goes, "What, they call him at halftime?"
Yeah.
Little did we know the trade went through, and he's on the red-eye flight, as you mentioned. He's already in the building, and he crashes the Pat McAfee interview because heaven forbid we don't get the McAfee. And actually, I'm appreciative of it because we use their clips all the time. So this is courtesy of the Pat McAfee Show. Here's Davante Adams about the offense and how he can hit the ground running.
I'm sure there's a few new, little nuances, but for the most part, a lot of the same verbiage. Still the same OG right here. So should be able to pick up where we left off. That's the idea.
And then they kind of joked around about, like, would he be ready for the Steelers? He's like, yeah, I'm going to be ready. You want to know why? Because that whole hamstring injury was absolute garbage, which we called from the get-go. Here's Davante Adams. Pat McAfee asked, how's the hamstring doing? It turns out maybe it was a knee.
Feeling great. Getting, I was working with the staff over in Vegas the whole time, and they got me back right. So, fortunately, I'll be able to roll.
Yeah, he goes, thank you for asking about my knee. It's like, I thought it was a hamstring. This is like when you catch a kid in a white lie. But anyway, so he's going to be ready to go. They're going to be at full strength. They're going on the road in Pittsburgh, a place where the Dallas Cowboys just went in and won. So this is, I know Pittsburgh is a tough place to play. They've got a great home field. It's special to play there. But this is not some insurmountable home field advantage that they're enjoying there.
Yeah, I know. But also, I'm not sure how healthy the Steelers are. But TJ Watt's screaming around that edge, come and get Aaron Rodgers. Let's just get out of that game in one piece. Yeah. The funny thing, they are saying the Davante Adams deal was done in principle before the outcome of the Bills-Jets game, right?
I think so. It'd have to be.
So it would have been I would feel so much better if they were 3-3 with Davante Adams coming into town. I just think 2 for 4. There's no margin for error here.
Listen, they beat the Steelers. If they win that game on Sunday night, if they go to Foxborough and beat the Patriots.
Easy. So then
you're 4-4.
Then you're 4-4. But then, you can't trip up, say, a game at Arizona. It's a long trip. You have no idea. The Colts could be fighting for the playoffs. There's just I feel like there's going to be a lot of really close games. So you can't have these massive screw-ups at the end because how many losses are you going to get here? There's some tough games. You're giving them a lot of wins on the road.
855-212-4227. All right, you guys are welcome to weigh in. Let's get to you. The big news yesterday, well, actually a lot of trades yesterday, but the headliner, certainly Davante Adams, the all-pro, and at one point, the best receiver in the NFL, gets traded, reuniting with Aaron Rodgers.
We have to get
Packers East.
We have to get into this later in the show. Why didn't everybody else offer a third round for Davante Adams? Hey, the Eagles don't even need a receiver right now, and I'm like, give up a third round pick. We gave him a third round pick for Jahan Dotson, who they don't even use.
How about this flip side? Hey, Raiders, why don't you eat some of the salary and maybe you would get a second rounder? The Raiders also botched this one big time. We'll get into the Raiders side of this as well.
I get that, but salary cap space is gigantic. They got some space out of this too, though, right? They have a ton of room. I think
they do. They have $80 million in cap space for next year. You're in a full rebuild. You're not even going to spend it. I would have said, listen, we'll eat Davante's salary. Just we need more draft capital. I do not trust that GM at all. 855-212-4227.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to argue you on that one.
It's okay. Did you guys hear Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, yesterday? Well, I got to tell you what he said. But I'm going to do it after the break. Has to do with Tom Brady, who got approved yesterday as a minority owner.
My counterpoint is, did you hear Woody Johnson yesterday? The two of them should go in a room and have a battle of wits.
What's that show? Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Remember, thinking is overrated, guys. Woody Johnson.
He did say thinking
That's
is overrated.
That's the line, and he quoted Talladega Nights. What is going on here? He's the ambassador to England, and he's talking about Ricky Bobby as his spirit animal for running a football team, which I actually appreciate.
If you ain't first, you're last. 855-212-422 something Woody Johnson would never know about. And very rarely been first. 855-212-4227. Okay, we'll tell you what the Raiders owner had to say. We'll get your phone calls about Davante Adams. Is the Super Bowl back on the table? 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Delusional Wednesday here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie's setting a Super Bowl standard for the Jets. I listed 5 reasons that they would not reach the Super Bowl. And I think the one, EJ Stewart, of course, our executive producer, is a gigantic Jets fan. I think I know the one that has him the most panicked.
Okay, can I just reveal your 5?
Yeah,
I did wrote them down. Yeah, because I
ahead.
debunked every one of them, I thought, in a way. Number 1, you said, was Rodgers' health. 2, the coaching staff. 3, the defense has been disappointing. 4, their kicker stinks. 5, they are the Jets.
All right, EJ, I think the one that has you most panicked is number 4.
The kicker?
I think you are worried that Greg Zuerlein is going to blow this for the New York Jets.
That's actually one of the bottom ones.
Thank you. You can get a new kicker.
I think you can get a new kicker, 1. 2, I'm not convinced Zuerlein is just a lost cause completely. He's had
32 yards.
He's had 2 really terrible games. He's been a very good Jets kicker. And he's made some big kicks. I know they don't play a lot of close big games, but he's made some big kicks over the last few years. Yeah. I want to give him a mulligan. I think it would take another bad game for me to be like, this is a Massive issue.
I just worry that the way they're losing feels like they don't have that. I mean, if they're going to play all close games, that seems to be the way they're built. Like, doesn't look like they're going to go out there and beat somebody 42-10 like the Lions. So
I'm going to be honest with you.
They're going to all close games, and there's already no margin for error. Like, you can't have any flaws.
This might just be the AFC, though, because the Chiefs play close games, and last year the Ravens are blowing out everybody, and then what happened when push came to shove? They got thrown off of their game plan a little bit, and they got beaten at home. So winning close games just might be the thing this year in the AFC, because nobody's really separated themselves.
Right, but it seems like Andy Reid and that coaching staff is way better in close games that matter than, say, the Jets coaching staff.
Well, fair. We'll get what EJ is most worried about in a second. Josh is in Philadelphia. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Ms. Gray. How are you?
I'm great.
Good morning, Mr. Perloff.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to weigh in on the Jets that you guys were talking about, and I really think it's been a lot of hype for the last year and a half, because I really don't think the Jets were ever really that good, and I really don't think Aaron Rodgers boost them up. It reminds me of when Brett Favre went to the Jets and they kept saying the Jets are going to go to the Super Bowl, they're going to win, and I don't know, I just think it's a lot of hype. I just wonder what you guys really think of that in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, I'd love to know if we could get a time machine, thank you for the call, back to when Favre was with the Jets and see what would happen if he never got hurt. That was a good team.
That's a story a lot of people forget. He ruptured his tricep and tried to play through it.
Yeah, but I think that then he got to Minnesota, right? And he just looked so comfortable with his coaching staff running the show.
He was playing great for the Jets before he got hurt.
I mean, look at him the next year. Great, like he played the next year. He should have won the MVP. I'm not sure he was at that level with the Jets.
They did go to New England, beat Tom Brady on Thursday night in a big game. The Jets looked like the best team in the NFL going into after that game.
That was a great offensive line.
Yeah. Oh, my God. The delusion in this room right now is
it's a fact, bro.
Oh, my God.
What was their record when he got hurt?
They were 8-3 or 9-3.
Something like that. They were winning games.
Yeah, they were really good. I know it's like revisionist history. I'm not trying to defend Brett Favre. I can't stand the clown. But he was playing great before he got hurt. It's fact.
Great?
Okay,
yes.
So EJ, of the 5 major concerns that Perloff has about the Jets this year.
So can you give it to me one more time?
Sure.
So
Rodgers' health, the coaching staff, the defense has been disappointing, the kicker stinks, and they are, in fact, the Jets.
I think it's a tie between the defense and Rodgers' health.
Got it.
I think the coaching staff, Todd Downing's way better than the other guy, Hackett. So I feel like, will they have these bad, discipline maybe, but I think the play calling is going to be better. So I'm not it can't be worse than what it was. I feel like Rodgers' health kind of combined with one that wasn't listed, which was the offensive line. I just don't know if Tyron Smith can block anybody anymore. Morgan Moses feels like he's just every game, he's waiting to go out. I was an Iron Man now, seems to get hurt every game. That concerns me because I just don't know if they can protect Aaron. And then the defense, like I said yesterday, it's overrated. It's just not that good. And I think.
But why were they good last year? It's a lot of the same guys.
Well, because you needed 14 points to beat the Jets by 10 points.
I think Perloff is right. I think that you can play the Jets to the score a little bit. Yeah. We know they can cover, but they don't stop. They don't stop the run. They haven't under Sala. And some of that is design. They play a wide 9 style, so they're going to let you run a little bit. But they don't have the wherewithal to, when teams really get going, to just turn off the water. And this is not a defense that, when the chips are on the table, they've ever gotten a big stop. It's all right, Mahomes or Allen, one of these guys they're driving down the field. You got to stop them from winning the game. It feels like Jets always give that up.
I don't know. Last year, Monday night season opener, I thought the Jets were good, but that was a tough game. In the chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNet, Dilbo is saying that mold is the Jets color. That green color is mold. And then said mildew would be a nice name for a lady if it wasn't a fungus. Name your daughter Mildew? That's just a little sampling of what you get from the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers. Andrew Bogusch is here with all the latest headlines. There's a lot going on today.
Good morning, everybody. Those headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. Great news for Yankee fans. Even better news for postseason home run derby participants.
Here's the 1-1. Judge hits a high fly to center. Back goes Thomas on the track near the wall. She's gone!
John Sterling on Yankee Radio as Aaron Judge finally remembered how to hit the ball over the fence. His first long ball of this postseason, a 2-run shot late after an early sac fly. So Judge drove in 3 after bringing just 1 RBI into the game. That must have been cool, Aaron Boone.
Yeah, it was.
How about a little more, manager?
That was a big swing to give us that cushion. Yeah, I think that the bench was pretty pumped when that happened.
The Yankees winning 6-3 over the Guardians, so they take a 2-0 lead to Cleveland for Game 3 of this ALCS tomorrow. Right after the Jets officially announced that Davante Adams trade, the Bills picked up Amari Cooper from the Browns for conditional draft picks. Josh Allen has the 4th fewest completions to wide receivers through the first 6 weeks of the season. We talked yesterday about the fairly clever tweet from the Bills about big night on Monday for New York sports teams. Yeah. They won. The Mets and Yankees won. Another good tweet from them yesterday showing a video of Josh Allen throwing the ball away and Amari Cooper catching it on the Browns sideline. And it said like the chemistry is already there or something like that. So the Bills are ready to go.
I'm excited. We'll get more into that later.
Atlanta will host the 2028 Super Bowl, the 4th time the city gets the big game. And Tom Brady is finally officially a minority owner of the Raiders. Mark Davis would not specify what Brady's day-to-day role would be, but did say he assumes Brady can help them find a quarterback.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
He said yesterday that they traded Davante Adams for Tom Brady.
And then he laughed.
It was a joke. Everyone laughed.
I'd do that trade any day of the week.
Yeah.
It was like, ha, 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 ha.
But the fear is, when I saw the quote first, I thought it was a serious sentence from him because he is a doofus. Like, I thought that was really him, like, presenting what yesterday was for them. I'm thankful that he laughed right away after I saw the video.
He might be someone who laughs after everything he says. You know? That's like people who don't have a lot of confidence. So just, they're like feeling out the crowd.
That being said, like, the bar is so low, like, for the we're talking about the Jets, like, I mean, Tom Brady can't possibly make this team any worse.
I have a theory on this. I have a thought about how this could go very wrong.
Wow, I can't imagine.
Stay tuned.
Did you watch the Steelers game? How could it get worse than that?
Yeah, I did go back and watch that Steelers Ravens
game. Aiden O'Connell is their quarterback right now.
You know what? I went back and looked at that game. The Steelers got a couple crazy calls. Justin Fields threw a straight-up bad pick, and it got negated because of an illegal man downfield. It got negated, I think, on a hold or something like that. No, I'm sorry. It got negated on a roughing the passer. He got 2 roughing the passers at really key times. And, of course, you got to punch out at the goal line with TJ Watt. But there were some crazy calls in that game that went against the Raiders.
Okay, so the Raiders are on the brink of getting it all fixed, and the Jets were going to win the Super Bowl with Brett Favre.
I think this is not going to go well for the Raiders.
Talking about fantasy football, it's not going to go well. They haven't been in the playoffs since they were in the Super Bowl against John Gruden.
No, remember Rich
Oh,
Bisaccia.
right. 1 year. 2 years, actually. I think it was Derek Carr's second or first year. They were really good. But generally, I don't know that there's anywhere to go down, but okay.
Deion Sanders expects Travis Hunter and receiver Jimmy Horn to play Saturday against Arizona. Both of them hurt in last weekend's loss to K-State. Paul George has a bone bruise, no structural damage to his left knee after hyperextending that knee in a preseason game 2 nights ago. He'll be reevaluated in a week, which puts opening night in some doubt. U.S. men's soccer lost a friendly in Mexico last night 2-0. That was their second match under new coach Mauricio Pochettino. And you don't see or hear this often.
Navich loads, rockets one in, glove down by Gustafson. He's going to shoot to the empty net. Philip Gustafson into the empty net. He scores! Philip Gustafson with a goalie goal! 8.1 seconds to go! And they mob the Gus bus back of the net. It's 4-1 Wild!
Oh, my goodness. Philip Gustafson, the first goalie goal in Minnesota Wild history. Wow. He also made the traditional 27 saves in a 4-1 win in St. Louis. The Oilers got their first win 4-3 in overtime over the Flyers, and the Stars are 4-0 after a 3-2 shootout win over our Sharks. Guys, back to you.
What's better, hockey, a goalie goal in hockey, or goalie fight?
Oh, a goalie fight.
A little more, obviously.
Goalie fight, yeah, but it's like a football fight. They're wearing so many pads.
Well,
it's hard
but they
to
drop
do.
them,
Yeah,
but
they got to travel so far to get to each other.
That game where the 2 robots fight?
Rock'em Sock'em?
Yeah, like they can't really hurt each other in all those pads.
Oh, you should go watch a Patrick Waugh Chris Osgood fight.
Oh, I will.
Cue up the YouTube.
Yeah, you got to go back to the nasty Red Wings avalanche in the 90s.
Okay, but generally, are there a lot of major goalie injuries?
There's not a lot of
You just gave me
goalie
one from
fights.
36 years ago, but yeah.
But there's not, but there might have been 3 goalie fights since then, and that was one of them, and it was nasty. Like, I'm just saying, there are real fights with goalies.
There's like one goalie that might actually fight someone, and it's Binnington for the Blues. Nobody else really has beef.
Yeah,
He's a crazy man?
They don't
Yeah,
happen
he's
often.
insane. And he cries a lot, so people get mad at him.
I don't really love goalie fights.
What?
I don't know. It feels so manufactured. It doesn't feel.
Wait.
It doesn't feel
really?
authentic.
A
Yeah.
goalie fight something that sports fans are supposed to have an opinion on? It happens often enough that
Well, you just did. You told me that they don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the worst is football fights when guys are wearing full pads. Like, that's ridiculous, right? Like, we can agree that those aren't good.
Not when Andre Johnson beat the crap out of Cortland Finnegan. That was awesome.
Right. But, generally, like, I think that if you're padded, it's not the same. I don't know.
I think if it's a one-on-one,
Goalie can't really.
be
Can he
good.
really? I have to look at this fight, but can they really like extend their arms and punch well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they don't aim for like body; they aim for the head.
Which has no mask on anymore with
And they're
their
on
bare
ice.
knuckles.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm pleading the fifth. I didn't know that this was such a plague that was affecting the NHL every day.
What's the difference between a goalie fight and a regular fight on ice?
It's the knee pads. He's like the leg padding.
I think
that he
they're
thinks he
probably
can't-
slightly more rare, right?
Oh,
Rare,
definitely.
but like the fighting is not different.
Sorry, I'm already knee deep in NHL goalie fights part 2 on
Yeah.
YouTube. I didn't even go to part 1.
I love the Perloff arc. Here's a declaration about something that I haven't seen, so we're gonna go back down the other way, and then we're wrong for bringing it up. You're frustrated with us for having a different take on something that you haven't seen in 3 decades.
I just since the 2007 lockout, there have been 7 goalie fights, according to this story.
Yeah, they don't happen often, but when they do, they get a little nasty. We had a Ranger goalie one time challenge the entire Islander bench to a fight.
That's pretty cool.
Can we put up a poll question? Goalie goal or goalie fight? Don't even say what would you rather. Just put it up.
Just that.
No context. 855-212-4227. How's your research going, Pearl?
The last one was February 1st, 2020. But apparently they're driving EJ nuts, these goalie fights.
Pox on society.
They're overrated. I don't know. I know a lot of people love them.
Love them.
It's because they're rare.
This arc is hilarious. So Perloff doesn't know they exist, but he had an opinion on them. He's upset
I just
that
feel like I'm just picturing these 2 goalies with gigantic pads going at each other.
They're not fighting like guys in the fake inflatable
They're not fighting
sumo suits.
apparently
They're just banging bellies and they can't reach each other.
Now that'd be cool.
Yes.
Apparently they're not fighting at all.
Right. But when they do, they're usually angry, and it's the end of like a huge 5-on-5, 6-on-6 brawl. So there's a lot of anger in them.
I just don't. The reason why I don't like. Why would a goalie ever be upset at another goalie?
No, they're never usually upset with each other.
Yeah.
It's like,
backing up their players.
Right. One goalie gets involved in a fight near him, so the other goalie needs to come down and get involved. It's usually that. It's not like, I hate you, let's fight.
There's courtesy. The goalie has to fight the other goalie.
Right, because usually the other goalie does something to a player, and his goalie teammate has to respond.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It just seems silly. It just
Well, I mean, most hockey fighting now is silly. I'm over most
That
of
is
it.
true.
Yeah.
Bogish, thank you. You can go to @Maggie and Pearl on X to vote on the poll. Goalie goal, goalie fight. I've got a question for you guys. We'll get into the Raiders. Mark Davis, the fact that he said they traded Davante Adams for Tom Brady. He was joking. I think this has got major disaster potential, and I'll tell you why. 855-212-4227. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. A lot of news yesterday. A lot of transactions in the NFL. Perloff headlined by Davante Adams being traded by the Raiders to the Jets. It wasn't shocking, but the fact that it's official, the fact that it could still be in time to turn around the Jets season. We're asking you, is Super Bowl back on the table for the Jets after this Davante Adams trade? But let's talk about things from the Raiders side of view, point of view for a second.
Right.
So Tom Brady gets certified, I guess. Is that the word?
Approved.
Approved, thank you, for to be a minority owner for the Raiders.
Certified. There's like a course Can you say idiotic things to the press? Are you comfortable being in an owner's box with Taylor Swift? Like, these are the things you need to be approved as an owner.
Can we give you a bowl haircut and a plate of chicken wings? It's rigorous. Anyway, so Tom Brady, obviously not your average minority owner here, right? And you would imagine that you bring somebody like Tom Brady into the building, you're going to want him to have a say. You want to tap in to that football mentality. And Mark Davis yesterday at the owners' meetings in Atlanta said as much. He said, he joked, he said, we traded Davante Adams for Tom Brady and then laughed about it. But he also said he's not sure how involved Brady's going to be. However, he would imagine that he will help them in a search for a quarterback, which they obviously need and which they 100% are going to be going for next year.
Yeah,
right?
I like it.
Okay. On the surface, that sounds really great. Of course, Tom Brady, one of the greatest winners of all time, would know what it takes to draft a quarterback. But I ask you, do we really have evidence of that? Because I look at John Elway. When he took over as the straight-up GM of the Denver Broncos, John Elway, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. John Elway obviously would be able to select a quarterback. The quarterbacks who played while John Elway was the general manager, Kyle Orton, Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning decided to come to them, right? He was just a free agent. That was
Elway's great get because Elway convinced Peyton over the Titans and some other teams.
Okay, but that's not drafting him. That was bringing in a future Hall of Famer and a 4-time MVP. Like that's not skill.
So he drafted Tebow,
Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian,
Fourth
Paxton
round.
Lynch.
Okay,
your
Paxton
boy Case Keenum he brought in, so we're obviously fans of that. Flacco was there, Brandon Allen, Drew Lock, Jeff Driscoll, Brett Rippon, Kendall Hinton. This is not the who's who of quarterbacks. Okay, these some of them
Kendall
are
Hinton
lower
was an
rounds.
undrafted wide receiver.
Okay, well,
so you're putting
Paxton Lynch
him in that
wasn't.
list. Yeah, no, they screwed up on the Lynch pick.
Brock Osweiler was a second rounder, right?
Was he? I thought he was third, but you could be right.
I'm just saying, we know Tebow was a first rounder. So I'm just saying that just because you are a great quarterback doesn't mean you're going to be good at this. It doesn't mean you're going to be good at specifically selecting quarterbacks. When Elway took over as the Broncos, Perloff, didn't you think, here you go, who would know quarterbacking better than John Elway? And you never got the proof of that when he was in Denver.
Well, I mean,
as the GM.
But the one thing, like Elway's star power helped get Peyton there. So, and they got a Super Bowl.
Okay, so you think Tom Brady is going to convince who to come to the Raiders? Like, make that applicable? Like,
well, I think once his Jets things implode, maybe Rodgers, maybe Stafford. I'll bet you he's really tight with Stafford. They strike me as two guys cut from the same cloth.
You think Stafford's got a lot left in the tank?
Yeah. He's pretty awesome right now.
I don't know.
I've seen him make throws that nobody else can make still.
Okay. Well, if you're banking just on Tom Brady just having the gravitas to say, let's get someone else's leftovers here, I think that's the last thing the Raiders need. The Raiders don't need another Band-Aid. You said it yourself. They need a full rebuild. How does that happen? You draft a quarterback.
Yeah,
that's
I think
the right way to do it. But
right.
You can't tell me Brady's going to be good at that if he's getting any input at all.
But they're going to have what? The top 3 pick, right? So the odds are,
about 50-50?
Yeah, I mean, 50-50. It doesn't matter who your GM. Like, you're probably looking at 50-50. They have a great chance of picking the right guy.
And they have a great chance of picking a bust.
Yeah, whether it's Brady or not. But I honestly, that's a good point. Like, they don't need Tom Brady to get a star at number 2 overall.
Well, but also, you're not sure that just having Tom Brady in the building, ipso facto, you're all of a sudden going to make the right decision at quarterback in the draft. Like, he doesn't help in that way. So I think the idea, like, even if it's a joke, hey, we trade Davante Adams for Tom Brady. Listen, Tom can go up there and give a motivational speech, right? To your point, is he going to be watching film? Is he going to be breaking down offensive linemen? Maybe he is. Maybe he wants to be the next GM, and we'll see. But just because he's now going to be part of the Raiders, to me, doesn't mean jack squat about how good this team's going to be on the field, unless he decides to suit up for them. And I think that ship has officially sailed.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt them. I mean, how could, what you say you don't know, like, how could it possibly make them worse? Like, what? Give me a scenario.
I don't know. Unless he feels like, listen, do we think the Raiders are going to be looking for a new head coach? Probably.
Well, yeah, but like, so they can't do worse than they're doing with Antonio Pierce right now. So what's the downside? Paint me a scenario.
So this is where I think that Brady could have a actually adverse effect, is if Mark Davis, who apparently will listen to anybody, I mean, Jim Gray's in his ear. Like, Mark Davis, I think, is really surveying the room on what he should do, I think, sometimes with football decisions. Now, he'll say he leaves all the football decisions to his people, but I don't know. He strikes me as somebody who takes a lot of input. Anyway, this is where I get a little worried. What if Tom Brady is carrying the water for former Patriot assistants? And believe it or not, I think there's still a few out there that haven't gotten hired yet as head coaches who can fail spectacularly at other places. So I worry that you just saw Josh McDaniels flame out.
Yeah. Well, that's one good thing. They're not bringing him back.
I guess they can't go back to him because they already did, although don't put it past the Raiders. No, that failed spectacularly. I worry that if Brady has input on the coaches, he will vouch for, he will suggest, he will push, he will do anything for people he knows and he trusts. And that's the whole thing about these Patriot assistants. Like, oh, I can recreate it. Now, unless he's bringing Belichick himself, which would be stunning, but a hell of a story. If Brady and Belichick reunited with the Raiders, that would be unreal. But again, is a 72-year-old Belichick coming in to a team that's going to be drafting a quarterback and really starting from scratch? I don't know if that makes sense.
The issue is the bar is so low. I mean, how can he do worse than the guys they've had there before? It's almost impossible.
I know, but what a loser's lament that is.
I mean, regardless, you're the Raiders. Like,
there's no bottom here. I mean, you think it could get worse?
Yes,
Hold on one second.
I don't know.
It can always get worse with the Raiders.
I'm not sure quite how. You know what would have been cool if he had been there a year before and he could have convinced Harbaugh.
That would have been something.
Yeah, maybe so he could tap into that Harbaugh Michigan world. Gets Connor Stallions running around on the sidelines.
Shocked that guy hasn't been hired.
Yeah, I just think like it's almost like the perfect situation because there's no damage he can do this. They're already broken. Like you can't further break them.
No, just wait. I think that there's like with certain teams, there's no such thing as rock bottom. And you can just keep going lower and lower and lower. But that would be my fear. One is that Brady doesn't actually help you in selecting a quarterback because he's just not going to be as good at it as anyone else would be. John Elway wasn't good at it. And he's an amazing quarterback. And that he could push a Patriots assistant onto the team. They've already been down that road. It didn't work. The only one who works is Belichick. And to have Bill O'Brien come in or something like that, a former Brady offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and somebody he loves, and that's not going to solve it. And I'm afraid Brady's influence will work in that way. So that's why I think this is not a slam dunk good thing that Tom Brady is now a part owner of the Raiders.
I think if you talk to any Raiders fan, I bet you they're excited, though. Because, again, anything to cede any power away from Mark Davis is probably a good thing. Anything.
Well, you might be
and
right.
It's good to have, like, a big name who can cede some power. Like, this is a good shot. I mean, I can't think. Mark Davis is not giving up the team. I don't think that was ever in play. So this might be I can't think of a better solution than bringing in Brady to influence him.
Yeah, I try to put myself in a Raiders' shoes here. It's like you have a guy who's maybe responsible for one of the worst sports memories that you have. You know, and I know it was a long time ago, and I get that.
You mean the Tuck Rule game?
Yeah, exactly.
So what?
Well, I know. It's like, oh, that guy's running our team now. It just, you spent all these years hating him.
You're not even in the same city.
Yeah, I know. But still same uniform.
Yeah, I have to be thrilled if I'm a Raiders fan. Like, get anybody in there to talk some. I mean, the problem is they're still digging out from the Mike Mayock draft picks. They really gave up 8 years of drafting with bizarre picks that just never panned out.
Well, if they had played this Davante Adams thing a little bit better, they would probably have a better draft pick. Just eat the money and try to get a second rounder as opposed to, having the Jets take on the rest of Davante Adams' contracts and getting a lesser pick.
If you want to laugh, look at their picks between 2018 and 2023. They can't do worse. Like half those guys are incarcerated.
Oh, my God.
I mean.
See, it can always get worse.
It can't. There's no way they could get worse. I don't know how.
Coming up, Jerry Jones is unhinged.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
When people say that the Cowboys will never win as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, Perloff. I always thought that just sounded a little vague. Right? Jerry's not playing quarterback. Jerry's not out there playing, D-tackle. How can he really be the guy who's influencing the winning and losing? And I understand that he's the general manager, but I got a little more clarity on exactly, I think, what people mean when they say they'll never win as far as Jerry Jones is the owner when he did an interview yesterday on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. And it's an interview that you may have heard of by now because it got pretty contentious, especially as far as those interviews go. They're usually pretty, friendly and fun, and Jerry saying weird stuff, and, it always delivers. But Jerry yesterday did not want to answer any tough questions. He was not in the mood.
Yeah.
So let's hear a little of Jerry, and I'll explain to you why this interview underscores the reason why the Cowboys will never win as long as Jerry is the owner. Ryan, can we play Cup 14, please? Go ahead.
I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning.
A little bit of a entry into Jerry's mind. We're going to play another clip here, and it's going to further give you evidence of why the Cowboys will never win with Jerry Jones, and why you will never win as far as he's your owner. Let's hear.
This is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask why.
A job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you.
Right. Okay. So two things there, and we'll play you even more sound here, Perloff. But two reasons that in this interview is important as to why the Cowboys will never win under Jerry Jones.
Okay.
Number one, you're coming off this horrible loss. Right? You lost to the Detroit Lions. You didn't even deserve to be on the field.
Right.
And this has now become a trend, if you will, over the last 4 home games, going back to last year against the Packers, where you're getting run on and run out of your own building for the most part. Okay? You've had 2 teams this year that have nearly dropped 50 on you and could have if they had kept their foot on the gas, but that's not the way of the NFL. The moment things get tough and somebody's asking tough questions, what does the billionaire go to? I'll fire you. He has to be surrounded by yes men, because the moment you challenge somebody, even in the lowest moment, which is exactly when you should be challenging Jerry Jones in the decision making, this is when you should be going over things with a fine-tooth comb. This is exactly when you have your feet to the fire and should be held responsible for these things. He goes to the oldest trick in the book for the powerful person, the oldest trick in the book for the boss. I'll fire you. It's like a Donald Trump thing. You're fired. That kind of thing. I'll fire you. What's the retort to that? First of all, these radio guys, RJ and Shannon, they don't even work for Jerry, so this doesn't even apply. But can you imagine if you work for the Cowboys and the moment you really try to ask your boss a tough question, he pulls out the card of I'll fire you?
Well, yeah, but to play a little counter to that, nobody's answered tougher questions for longer than Jerry Jones. He's the only owner who speaks. 99% of the time he answers all the questions. He doesn't answer the questions. He goes way overboard answering the questions after every big loss.
He gives you word salad that can barely be this about circumcising mosquitoes and all these folksy isms about Jerry. I don't think that...
I would say there's nobody in the NFL who takes more questions after a loss than Jerry Jones.
Oh,
not a single person.
Perloff, but that's not because he's obligated to. That's because he loves the sound of his own voice.
Yeah, but
that's his own vanity and ego. That's not something to be applauded.
But you said that the second things got tough, he said, I'm going to fire everybody. I mean, he's been answering for losses for 20 years, and he's never done this before. So to me, I actually wonder, he's starting to kind of lose it.
Well, he's lashing out.
Normally he really does answer those questions. Like, that's why the guys were so surprised. Like, he's like, yeah. Normally Jerry's like, yeah, we screwed this up, we screwed that up, we screwed this up. They will not stop. He throws everybody. He's actually usually quite candid. Would you say that or no? I mean, you've probably been in Jerry interviews. Like, people are shocked that he says the things he says. He's like kind of honest.
Well, this is the other part. Yeah. Yes, I don't know if I'm going to go all the way with you there because, again, I think this is all just a Jerry ego play, the vanity play.
Yeah, that's true, too, but...
And I think that you got a glimpse of what I think it probably is like behind the scenes. You really challenge him because this is the media, what he presents to the fan. You challenge him behind the scenes, and it's not, wow, thank you for the constructive criticism. Yeah, we should really look into that. It's, I'll fire you. And I hate it when rich and powerful people pull that kind of thing. Because you never are going to get anywhere. This is how you have yes men. This is why, you're going to just surround yourself with like a bunch of sycophants and you're expecting things to change. Now, here's another part of the Jerry interview from yesterday that I think underscores why the Cowboys will never win with Jerry as an owner. Can we play cut 17, please, Ryan? When Jerry, again, is talking about how he's not going to go over all of his decision-making with these two radio hosts.
Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong and without going over the rights?
Partial credit. Can you imagine sitting up here after you just got smoked by the Detroit Lions? Smoked. Team looked like they were disinterested and saying, I want credit for all the good things we've done. That's audacity. I mean, that is something where people say, I always wonder whether Jerry really wants to win a Super Bowl or does he just say he wants to win a Super Bowl? I got your evidence right there because you haven't done jack since the 90s. We're going back to 95. There's generations of Cowboy fans that have never seen what the hype's about. So to sit up there and say you want credit for a team that consistently loses in the divisional round is appalling. It's so, I don't even know the word, disappointing. And it's the reason you're not going to win. Because he's already felt like mission accomplished. He's already patting himself on the back, Pearl, because look at all the good things I've done when your team just got embarrassed by the Lions, who you're supposed to, in theory, be on the same level as, or close.
I totally agree with everything you're saying. The accountability is out there. But let me ask you a question. Of the other teams that have gotten blown out this year, like, what did their owners say on the radio?
Listen, no owner talks as much as Jerry.
No owner talks, period.
Okay, but
he's the only guy. What coach has taken as much responsibility? So you can't say that this is the first time he's ever done something like this. You can't say this is the pattern. Normally, he actually does the exact opposite. And he's like, let's list the problems with the team. And he's way too candid.
I know, but see, the thing is, I think that we mistake sometimes Jerry being so accessible to the media with him like doing some kind of favor. He does this because...
It's totally a favor.
No, he does it for his own means to his own end, which is needs to keep the Cowboys front of mind for every football fan out there. He wants to lead shows. He wants to be on. He wants us to play his clips. And so, for a lot of it, it's just all about the marketing, the showmanship.
No, I think it's about
for personal gain.
It's not for the Cowboys. It's because he's got to keep Jerry front and center.
Sure. So that's not like that.
I'm not saying
it's
a service,
honor in that.
But you can't say the second things get tough, he's like, let's fire everybody, because he's been doing this for a long time. We're talking about 20. How many years? I'm sorry, 30.
Since 89, right?
It was 95 when they last won.
Oh, I thought you meant when he bought the team.
He's been sort of answering these tough questions. I think it's interesting. This is the first time he's ever folded like this. I mean, there were plenty of opportunities for him to lose his mind. And it's never happened before, so I think he's really seeing the end.
I mean, he can't understand why he would get tough questions without any compliments? Is that what that is? He wants compliments?
He wants propaganda.
Well, but that's that I get. Teams want their point of view out there, but you really want credit for a team that hasn't won since we were children. I mean, that to me is like, that's the answer right there. That's it. This radio interview I thought was extremely revealing. and Jerry looked terrible.
I think you're right about everything. I think the one thing, to point to why particularly Jerry was upset,
Yeah.
I think it has to do with the fact that, and I think we have a caller who wants to talk about it a little bit, like, if the Cowboys weren't the Cowboys, I think you'd say this is a pretty well-run organization. Like, they're winning, like, and forget about, like, Jerry talking. Like, his talk is not.
Yeah.
But, like, just in terms of football, you're like, all right, they don't win the playoffs, but, like, they go to the playoffs every year. They're competitive. They have good players. Like, I think it frustrates Jerry more that his team is pretty good, but the expectation is greatness, so therefore he's failing miserably. I think that's why he goes on there, and then one of the things he says is, you're not going to have me sit here and talk about all my failures without any credit for the success. It's a ridiculous statement, but I think for him, he's like, man, if I was the Titans, people would be like, this is great football. Like, we're competitive every year.
EJ, who's to blame for that?
I know.
He goes out there and says they're going to win. The New York Yankees don't even say that. They say we're just trying to make the postseason. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
They don't promise wins anymore. And I think the Cowboys and the Yankees are probably the two closest things we have to each other, like these crown jewel of North American sports, valuation.
Sure.
Fans all over the world. People love them. People love to hate them. The Yankees don't promise anything anymore. They stopped that.
Really?
They do not, and it frustrates people because they say you're the Yankees. You should expect World Series every year. The Cowboys still go out there and tell you that they think they're Super Bowl contenders when they're actually just good teams.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every NFL team now says that. Shad Khan thought he had a Super Bowl team. One thing, if you really want to see insight to the Cowboys, watch that cheerleader show. That is
Seriously?
Yeah, because Charlotte Jones runs the team, and the way that she manages
the cheerleading team.
The cheerleading team, which is huge business for them, obviously. Like, it's a big part of the thing. Charlotte is, I think, a mini Jerry. Like, you said, if you say something that she does not like, you are out the door immediately. Like, she should run that team. I got to be honest, I've never been more terrified of an executive in my life. I mean, the cheerleading team, like, that's a real deal. If they could run the football team like the cheerleading team, they would have 6 more rings.
I know. The only question, and I'm all for women getting promoted, obviously, and it worked in Detroit when finally one of the female members of the family took over and things stabilized. But my question is, who is the Cowboy cheerleaders competition?
What do you mean?
Like
the Raiderettes.
No,
but they don't play anybody.
But they're very professionally run. Like,
I'm sure. It's them versus them, right? It's like who's the best of the best. It's all internal competition. They don't actually get judged on.
I think it'd be easy to dismiss a cheerleading squad as just like a side thing for the football team. They don't approach it like that at all.
Got it.
Which actually is more along your line, saying they don't care about winning Super Bowl. They just want to be relevant. Like, this is an impressively run business for sure. And by the way, like, I think she should run the team. Somebody's running the team right now. That's the other thing. Like, Jerry's not making these draft picks. He's 82 years old. He doesn't even. Do you think he picked Tyler Guyton?
No. I mean, we have a joke here that they probably tell Jerry that the draft is on Friday instead of Thursday, so they can just take all the first round picks they want without his interference.
So I mean, I think it's a really interesting question. Like, who's running the Cowboys now? Is it Will McClay? Is it Steven? There's definitely like a level of middling comp. We were talking about the Raiders. I mean, the Cowboys are better than the Raiders.
No doubt, of course.
Yeah, I think, like, this is, to me, I agree with everything you said. Like, you can't really tell Jerry what to do, and that's been a big problem. But I think there's a change in Jerry because they've been bad before, right? I mean, they were 8-8 for a better part of a decade, and he never said, I'm going to fire you to the radio host. He usually, like, embraces those guys.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think that this was, you could say, it's a radio interview. I thought you got a lot of insights here as opposed to the vague, we'll never win if Jerry's in charge. Like, well, why? Well, here's a couple reasons why. You challenge him, he's going to fire you or threaten to, so you never challenge him again. And Sean and RJ, I know those guys. They're great guys. I've gone on with them before on their show. Their radio station just won a Marconi Award for the best sports talk radio station in the country. They know what they're doing in Dallas. And Jerry doesn't pay those guys. Okay, they work for the same company that Perloff and I work for, and Ryan and EJ. They work for Odyssey. And Jerry, though, could use his influence. And he sounded yesterday like he was going to try to use his influence to try to influence these guys in their job status. And that is just gross.
Well, what he could threaten is we're going to change flagship stations.
Yeah, and you want to know what? I'm sure they're in a contract that's pretty ironclad that really can't go to the whims of Jerry. But maybe I'm wrong about that because powerful people tend to have a lot of influence.
Well, I mean, this happens all across the country. Like, flagship stations have problems covering their own teams.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the insights. You challenge him, he'll threaten to fire you, right? And I think Sean and RJ do such a great job. I don't know if this is going to influence them going forward. I don't think it will. I think they'll still ask him tough questions. But, a guy comes on and a powerful person threatens to fire you. That happened. That really happened. Like, you really start to think, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And then the second part, which is he still wants the credit for all the good things that they're doing when you're getting blown out at home. D is in Oregon. D, hello, sir.
Hello, good morning. I just want to say, the Cowboys and the Jets and, the Giants, they're all grouped in one. And there's probably a couple other now I'm thinking about, but we just keep talking about them. It's like they're irrelevant. They don't matter. The Cowboys, they'll go on a 3-game, 4-game winning streak and automatically, boom, they're going to win the Super Bowl. Me as an Eagles fan, we go on a 3 or 4-game winning streak and, let's fire Nick Sirianni. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's insane. We got to stop talking about them because they're nobodies. And I get it. They're a big media market, so it gets a lot of clicks. It's got to the point for me anyways when people talk about Aaron Rodgers, I'll just turn it off. I won't click that because I'm so sick of that guy too. And it's Cowboys the same. It's at some point we just got to say we're not going to talk about you guys anymore because there's nothing to add to it. You guys are a loser. You guys are not going to win, and there's nothing else to say. Sorry, guys.
No, D, I get the frustration.
It is funny,
and we appreciate the phone call.
I was just thinking about if not the Cowboys and the Jets, then who should we talk about?
Do you want to talk about Nick Sirianni? I'd love to talk about Nick Sirianni.
But actually, it's funny.
I can't get enough of that dude. He's such a weirdo.
I feel like the Eagles probably get a lot of hype too. I was just thinking, maybe they're on the TV in front of us, you never sit and just let's really talk about the Ravens. The well-run teams are not interesting. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality of the situation is even the Chiefs. Thank God Taylor Swift is there. Otherwise, what we're gonna do? Man, that little chicken nugget commercial with Andy Reid was funny. I understand what D is saying, but there is a reality to the more erratic teams are more interesting. But then, that's a really good question. Are the Cowboys, at what point does it become oh, God, you can't keep doing the same thing? It gets frustrating. I get it, totally.
This was worthy of us discussing it. It is. And if Jimmy Haslam of the Browns had gone on radio and done the same interview, we're also talking about that. I understand the Cowboys overhype. The reason we talk about the Cowboys is because Cowboy fans are all over the country. I'm sorry, Philadelphia Eagles fans, I'm actually surprised. D's in Oregon. Generally, Philadelphia Eagles fans are in Philadelphia or thereabouts. Cowboys fans are everywhere. Steeler fans are everywhere. Raider fans are everywhere. Aaron Rodgers is a known commodity everywhere. So, we try to do things that are interesting to a lot of people.
I think this Cowboys one is interesting because I think this is new for Jerry. We've never heard this Jerry Jones. That's why I think it's interesting. What does that mean? Why now? He could have just done this. Why didn't he do this after the Packers game last year?
Right.
What's going on there?
I also think this is, even for Jerry, who talks all the time, does 2 radio interviews a week, right? Or at least 1 for a long time. I think if any owner had this interaction publicly, we would definitely talk about it. You want to know why? Because they're the gatekeepers and they're the decision makers. And whenever you complain about your team, ultimately, the owner is the one who should have to answer to it. When I was on local radio in New York, we would get interviews with John Mara. Those were some of the best ones not because the Giants are overhyped. The Giants have been boring for a long time, just bad and boring for a long time. But the buck stops with him. So you can't pass it off. GMs can pass it off to ownership. Players can pass it off to GMs. The owner can't pass it off to anybody. So that's why these interviews, I think, are interesting.
I would slightly disagree. If, I don't know, who was the guy, Greg Penner of the Broncos talks, nobody cares.
Well,
Steve Bisciotti talks, nobody cares.
If he got into it with the radio host on the local Denver radio station, I think we'd talk about it.
I don't know. I just feel like nobody talking. First of all, no owner is doing what Jerry's doing.
I know, because none of them are dumb enough to do what Jerry
No owner
does.
gets in front of the mic. Yeah, it's crazy. There's no other owner who still thinks he's a GM. Let's talk. Jerry's interesting because of a million different reasons, and he's totally different. And this is interesting because Jerry's never done this before. If it was a normal Jerry, circumcising mosquito talk. We would probably have fun with it for a minute, but this is a little different.
Do you guys remember a story from a couple weeks ago where a staffer from the Washington Commanders went out on a date and the woman was secretly recording their conversations? Do you remember this story?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And one of the details where he's talking basically about, what they do as PR to like cover up for some of the warts of the team. And I guess that was interesting to people. But one of the other things he says in there is that Jerry Jones runs the NFL. This is what this dude for the Commanders, totally different team. And I think that's part of it too. He is not just the owner of the Cowboys, but one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful owner in the NFL. And I do think that he pushes Goodell around.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
I mean, all the owners push Goodell around. That's why Goodell gets $50 million a year.
It's a cushy job you could push around.
Yeah. First of all, I totally understand what the D is saying. Like, we get it too. I mean, we understand the nature of the Cowboys being overhyped. It can be frustrating, but God darn, is that guy interesting?
855.
If Ziggy Wilf was out there circumcising mosquitoes, we'd talk about Ziggy Wilf.
855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including more news from yesterday. Big trade went down. Not just Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers now, but also another playoff team adding a weapon, Pearl. Of course, I'm talking about Ziggy Wolf's Vikings adding Cam Akers. No. The Bills trade for Amari Cooper. We'll get into that in just a moment.
All right, sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening. Because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void of Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Oh, man. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff Show. Medical experts were just in the break debating the difference between a Liz Frank injury and a Jones injury because I guess left tackle for the Giants, Andrew Thomas has one or the other. He, by the way, was actually balling out against Cincinnati against Hendrickson. That was the best part of that game, watching him trying to block Trey Hendrickson. Now it looks like even more bad news for the Giants. By the way, there's a lot of talk about how come Bogus and Perloff don't get along. They should be friends.
Yeah.
I tried to text him over the weekend to get some Giants talk going, and he's like, sorry, watching baseball, can't talk now.
Well,
wait, what?
I mean, that was a Phillies dig.
Well, yeah.
Like my team's
No.
Yeah.
He was actually. He had an eye on the Giants, but I generally was like, hey, let's rip the Giants together. This will be fun. They're so incompetent, and he didn't want to go there.
So the first text was nice sack by Ojulari.
Yeah, did you guys see that play, by the way? That was like one of the craziest plays of all time. He had Joe Burrow wrapped up, but he was so afraid of the flag that he just let him go and flinged him towards the sideline.
But when I got that at 8:47 Sunday night, I had no idea what you were talking about because I was watching the Met game so intently.
Yeah, no, I understand that now.
So then I
understood after you texted me back. I
Yeah.
clearly understood. I just didn't think of it in the moment.
Could have been the other Ojulari. Isn't there another one?
Yeah.
I think he's got a brother.
That being said, I'm like,
Maybe
all
they're
right,
still in college.
we can both rip the Giants because the Giants are pretty rippable. I mean, but even I think they're already dead to Bogus. Like I don't even think you get your gander out for the Giants.
No, they're the least of my concerns to begin with when they're good. So when they're bad, they are way down the list.
Yeah, like if you ever want to start a conversation with EJ, you'd be like, man, look what the Jets did this weekend. And EJ, you got him. You're good for a nice 20 minutes of small talk.
Yeah. Just walk up to EJ and be like, can you believe it? That's all you got to say. And just see what he comes back with.
That
could be the Mets. That could be the Jets. It could be Miami
a
Hurricanes.
Marvel decision.
If you're
the Liberty.
if you're at a dinner table and there's a lull
Knicks,
or a quiet, just turn to EJ and say, EJ, can you believe the decision they just made? And boom.
This is sending
You're
a
getting
tweet
animated conversation for 15 minutes.
Send a tweet to EJ that's just the eyes that are looking. Like, I know. That's why you make a great radio producer and host.
Well, when I grew up, my mom called me the whiner 49er. Instead of the minor 49er from Scooby-Doo, I was the whiner 49er because you're right. It only takes one little thing to be like, damn it, did you see that last night?
So listening to WFAN growing up, it got earwormed into your brain to just complain all the time.
They created a monster.
No, the things that EJ is excited about, he's more excited about them than we are about anything.
Anything.
Like wrestling, Marvel, Knicks, like
MLB All-Star uniforms.
Yeah, like I think the rest of us have this ironic distance to some level after years of being beat down as sports fans. EJ has no interest in being cynical.
Yeah, all in.
God bless you.
But it makes me feel like I'm doing it wrong sometimes.
Yeah,
so I'm like, should I be
You are
this
doing it
worked
wrong.
up about that?
Yeah. You didn't read the rest of the text. It's like, I gave up on the Giants in 2018.
Now all of a sudden those draft picks are finally working out. Ojulari, Thomas. Well, not Thomas now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a tough game. I understand your decision. But you're Mets, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Here we go. But I am doing something for our friendship this weekend.
What's that?
There's a little breaking news. I'm going to San Antonio this weekend, so I'm going to do some recon for you.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
That's an interesting question. So my wife realized that she had like a free companion flight thing that was expiring. So we were trying to figure out where to go. And San Antonio was the only place that you'd want to go to that was available to fly this weekend when we have nothing going on.
You know, this is the weekend that we were going to originally go for Texas, Georgia. We were going to be there on Thursday.
And one day this weekend is the Spurs, I think, are doing I don't know what they call it, black and silver, some kind of scrimmage. So like Wemby's going to be in the building this weekend.
Well, this is why we had originally picked this weekend for a lot of things. Then we couldn't do it because we had some things come up. But that's amazing. So when did you guys pull the trigger on the San Antonio trip?
Probably the end of September.
So you've been sitting on this for
not
almost
sitting
a
on it.
month?
This is like the third time where this, like the Wemby thing has come up, and I was about to say it, and one of you pivoted to something else, and I didn't want to like drag it back in, so I had to make sure I got it in. So the fact that you came at a break by going, me and Bogush aren't friends, was the perfect entry point for me.
By the way, feel free to drag us wherever you want. That's totally fine.
Come on,
but let me ask you a question.
Like there's a plan
what
here.
were the other options besides San Antonio?
Get ready to offend every other city.
No, I'm just thinking like San Antonio in October is not exactly immediate. Like
no, but again, because it's a gimmicky like free ticket.
Yeah,
every cool place you can't go to. Like they're not letting you go to like a really
Las Vegas.
Yeah. We thought about Austin for a second, not realizing that it was Texas and the F1 race this weekend.
Yeah, and they just had Austin City Limits too.
Right.
Like it's crazy down there right
now. So we could have. There was one night where we had a flight to Austin, but we were looking at hotels. Like, why are the hotels so expensive? And then the next morning, the flight was gone as an available thing, and that's why I didn't realize I didn't connect those two things. But we're looking for just someplace kind of warm, but like Memphis and Nashville, all those places that didn't apply to the deal. So Austin led us to San Antonio. And
you guys had a great time. No kids?
No
kids.
You could easily drive to Austin too.
Yeah, but for what though? Like
food.
If you get tickets if you get tickets to that Georgia game, oof.
Yeah,
Should
I
we
can't sell
send
it.
Bogush with the sign?
No. I got to pay this off.
Okay.
I got to pay this
Perloff as a
off.
sign.
I'm actually mad now because I didn't know the Spurs are in Houston on Thursday night, so that was another problem. I didn't realize there was this scrimmage on Saturday.
Yeah, it was one of the days of the week because my wife's like, do you want to go to the Spurs blah, blah, blah scrimmage? And I'm like, no, but I know somebody who should be there.
Wait, can Bogush and Mrs. Bogush also try to find this like taco stand that Perloff swears by but won't remember the name?
You can't miss with the tacos down there, but go ahead.
That's the thing. Like I've been doing my research and I specifically searched best San Antonio breakfast taco and there's 47 options. So I don't know how you would know which one you were at.
No, you can't miss. The food is great down there.
Yeah,
but
I can't
the
wait.
one you want to go back to. How are you going to get back to this place?
Well, it's actually,
Like
I know
muscle
exactly
memory?
where it is. It's
Okay.
like 3 blocks from the Sheraton.
$3 from the Sheraton? There you go.
You turn
North,
right,
south,
you turn
east,
left,
or
you turn
west?
left,
Yeah.
and you take another right, and it's a weird place. It's like a diner that serves Tex-Mex. It's great. Anyway, so you can't miss.
There's also a donut shop.
Yeah, that place is famous, right?
Yeah, that sell. It's called just like Original Donut, but they have amazing breakfast tacos apparently.
Oh, that might be the place.
It's just called like Original Donut Shop. Like there's not.
Yeah.
It's not even doesn't have a name on it. It's not Mel's Donuts. It's just like Donut Shop, and you can get donuts and breakfast tacos.
What else do you have on the agenda for there? Obviously the Alamo. Obviously the Riverwalk.
Yeah, we're just gonna get there and wander around. Like we have dinner. Like we're not going to anything of actual significance. There's like Japanese gardens that look pretty cool that I want to walk around.
This is lovely.
There's a couple of museums.
Where's DMB this weekend? Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, that's a great question.
We had actually they're going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this weekend. So that
Have you
was
gone to Cleveland?
That thought about Cleveland for a second. but that didn't work
Oh,
out.
there's a football game in San Antonio, too.
UTSA, yeah.
Hosting Florida Atlantic. Throw out the record books when those two get together.
It's the rivalry of our time.
Is that a Conference USA showdown? Or
I guess so.
What league is that?
AAC.
Oh, even better.
Wait, UTSA they've been good. I can't remember. Like, those schools are now flip-flopping when they're good.
No, it was like 2 years ago where they were
they've been
unbeaten
ranked
for a
recently.
long time, and they
Yeah.
were like flirting with messing up I was going to say the BCS, but they were undefeated, and like we were trying to figure out where they should be ranked.
So I got to be honest. I thought this was some kind of, you cover the Nets, you do Fordham football.
Yeah,
I was
no.
like, what the heck is Fordham playing UTSA?
No. This is looking for a
That would
place
be
to go
ugly.
for half free and ended up in San Antonio.
Awesome.
So I'm assuming I'm going to meet Wembanyama this weekend. I'm going to actually get right up against him.
No, I'm sure that I'm sure the Spurs make it easy to go up to the biggest, brightest star in the NBA.
No, he's going to be hanging out, maybe at the original donut shop.
Britney Spears almost got
sure you'll
tasered for saying hi to him. I
Yeah,
don't know what that's going to happen to you.
Are you sure you're going to recognize him?
Fingers crossed.
Hey, has anyone ever told you look like Victor Wembanyama?
Yeah, you can't see on YouTube right now. Has anyone ever told you up there that you look like Victor Wembanyama?
Need a megaphone.
Okay, we have like a minute for your update. Sorry.
That's
We've
okay.
got RJ Ochoa coming up next from Blogging the Boys to talk about Jerry Jones' insanity.
Throw us your best headlines, Bogus.
Sure,
the best
they're
one.
all sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code MANDP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Yesterday only felt like trade deadline day in the NFL. The Jets finally reuniting Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers. The Bills got Browns wideout Amari Cooper for Josh Allen. And the Vikings traded for running back Cam Akers for the second straight year. He played 6 games for them a year ago before tearing his Achilles and then signed with Houston this offseason. Akers and Minnesota head coach Kevin O'Connell were together with the Rams. The Yankees are halfway to the World Series, a 2-0 lead on the Guardians in the ALCS after last night's 6-3 home win. Manager Aaron Boone saying the usual things when in this position.
You got to keep moving. We need 2 more here, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. We just talked about it's 1 game at a time.
The win last night included Aaron Judge's first homer of this postseason, Game 3 in Cleveland tomorrow. Mets-Dodgers, Game 3 tonight in New York shortly after 8 Eastern. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thank you. And now we've got a whole San Antonio trip that Bogish is going on to think about. RJ Ochoa, one of our very good friends and one of the best who's covering the Cowboys, will join us next to talk about Jerry Jones. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, M&P, Infinity Sports Network. We were breaking down almost line by line this bizarre Jerry Jones interview. And considering Jerry, bizarre is kind of the standard. This one was even an outlier for that. And someone who speaks fluent Jerry is RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys, and he joins us now. You want to watch the show, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. RJ, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I like to consider myself fluent, but even I had to break out, my books from college to translate this. This was a tough day in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Rosetta Stone. So what did you make? Why was Jerry so contentious with the guys from 105.3 The Fan?
They're good dudes. I know y'all know them very well. And so to lash out at them in general is kind of surprising to me. I think that you mentioned breaking it down line by line. Where the inflection was, or where the break point was the awkward laughter of, oh, yeah, you could get rid of us, whatever. And then the, no, I'm serious, and the doubling down on it throughout the day. I think that it's bad. I think that everybody's very uncomfortable. I think that, look, they're fighting a 30-year shadow, and he is the front man for it. He is the ringleader. He is the main act, and all of that is by design. I mean, sometimes I think it's fair to feel for or pity certain people who are involved with this franchise because they didn't ask for some of this. But Jerry incited all of it. And that's where I think a lot of people were particularly quick to grab their pitchforks yesterday.
RJ, there's been some tough losses in the Jerry Jones era, and he's stood in front of the media. I've seen it a million times and answered a lot of questions, even with these guys. Why this interview? I mean, I know it was a bad loss to Detroit, but did he reach a breaking point?
I don't know. I mean, you could obviously, if you want, consider the fact that it was his birthday. Maybe that does twist the knife just a little bit differently.
Is he seeing the mortality? Is that coming into play where you think he's like, am I going to win again before I pass away?
That's obviously been a subject and a talking point for some time now, just given average life expectancy, I suppose. But it's he's such a youthful person, right? Like, I mean, even behaving this way is both simultaneously a bit elderly and a bit youthful in some ways. It's certainly the immaturity involved, and I think that if I had to isolate one thing that is probably annoying, it's being told over and over and over again how dumb you were, how you messed up, how this was your fault, and blah, blah, blah. Those things have to weigh on him. He is certainly not somebody who avoids attention. I think that he's got a 30-year career of proving that, but I do think that it bothers him to feel like he's dumb, to feel like he's made a mistake. And there's an overwhelming amount of, in fact, there's only evidence to support that he and his front office went about this in a way that quite literally the entire world disagreed with.
RJ Ochoa is joining us from Blogging the Boys, and he wants the partial credit, RJ, is what I said earlier. We're playing some of the clips from the interview where he's like, I'm not going to talk about all the bad things without talking about the good things. Like, you want to stand up there after you just got the doors blown off of you. Twice this season, the opponent came into your house and could have dropped 50 on you, and you want to talk about credit for the good stuff?
Yeah, there's no question that Jerry wants to do this thing Sinatra style. And it's ironic that he would say, you can't talk about the things in the past that, make me uncomfortable. But did you know that in 1989, when I bought this team, it was super bold and it worked out really well for me? Let's talk about those things from the past. He is certainly cherry picking and has reached that point in the discussion. He also, throughout the course of that conversation, mentioned several times that Dak Prescott is the highest paid player in the NFL and that CeeDee Lamb is the highest paid, or, in the market of the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, which is, shifting blame, moving the target, which is kind of in itself also not a cool thing for your general manager or owner to do. And even if you do disagree with the idea of signing Dak Prescott, even if you do think he's bad or whatever, I've had that argument too many times to count at this point. Who was the GM who masterminded the delay of both of those deals and ultimately got them done? So you can't blame the guy who did all this when you were the person painting yourself into the corner the entire time.
Is it possible the Derrick Henry mistake is the one that pushed him over the edge?
I think that that's the one that people have really, kind of sunk their claws into and won't let him forget. And it's just, everything is, of course, like this is, people love to say, like, if this season was a DVD, if those still exist, like the tagline would be, of course. Like, of course, Derrick Henry would have his real coming out party at AT&T Stadium against the Cowboys. Of course, he would have individually almost twice as many rushing yards as the Cowboys' entire team does at this point in the season. Of course, they would get the doors blown off of them by the, little cute Detroit Lions who America has fallen in love with. I mean, everybody is laughing at their expense. I mean, quite literally. I don't know if either of you saw the Detroit Lions social team is phenomenal. They released a video yesterday of the highlights of their punter, who did not punt a single time in the game. And it was this amazing level of trolling. It was literally just highlights of him holding on kicks and field goals. And that's it. It's show up to AT&T Stadium and have yourself a great time at the Dallas Cowboys' expense.
Oh, no. The Lions made the point very, very clear when they were running multiple plays for offensive linemen. We get it. We got it. They were definitely rubbing it in. RJ Ochoa is joining us from Blogging the Boys. If you are a Cowboy fan, this is the must read, even if you're not, just to get smarter about the NFL. It's awesome. So I guess, like, tuning away from Jerry, for the Cowboy fans who are looking and say, hey, we're 3-3. It's been a couple bad losses, but the season's not over. You get the bye week, then at the 49ers, at the Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Commanders are no longer a walkover. Where does the season go from here, RJ, if you were to give your guests your most informed opinion?
I think they may, if they're fortunate, jump rope around 500 as the season kind of goes along. You mentioned their first game out of this bye is it against Daddy. I mean, if there is a team that has unequivocally owned them for a long time, it is the San Francisco 49ers, which is ironic given the history of this organization. And so they'll probably lose that game. They'll fall below 500. I think that we'd probably take them against the Falcons. That seems kind of fair. And I think that if you look through their schedule, it kind of goes that way. Then it's like, I think they'll lose. I think they'll win. They'll probably beat the Giants on Thanksgiving Day, and they'll celebrate with whoever it is that's going to be performing at halftime, and they'll make a big deal about it. And they'll probably enter the final 2 weeks of the season in contention for the NFC East, because that's the way the division simply works. But I don't think they'll make a coaching change because I think they're too lazy. I think that they are comfortable riding this out and have made this. I mean, everybody's asking questions about Mike McCarthy and whatnot, and I feel for him on a human level, but again, who is the person that sent him into this contract year, knowing full well the chaos that would unfold after each and every single loss because of the circumstances that are what they are.
RJ, do you think Cowboys fans are upset to see the Jets get Davante Adams for a third-round pick? They might say, why didn't we give up a third-round pick? We desperately need a second receiver.
I think Cowboys fans are utterly pissed off to see Amari Cooper dealt for more than their team originally received when they first traded him to the Cleveland Browns. And so, I mean, Amari is a phenomenal player, and it's clear that he had some sort of falling out with the Cowboys that got personal to the point that they were willing to make an illogical decision. But I think the spirit of your point certainly fits. So yesterday was an all-time Jerry day. I would put it in the top 5 of most toxic. And I mean, it started obviously with the interview, to have it ripple into the trades happening and then the incidental damage of the Amari trade and, Cleveland getting more than Dallas got initially. And then for him to come out and not only double down on the radio interview, but to say, oh, and by the way, we're not going to be active at the trade deadline. I mean, it is a really hopeless feeling right now if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. And a big reason for that, honestly, is being gaslit on a week-to-week basis. It's one thing to be bad, but it's another thing to continually, have your hopes light up and have Lucy laugh at you as she's pulling the ball away.
RJ Ochoa joining us. Just got about a minute or so, RJ. You mentioned Mike McCarthy. I mean, Jerry's going on and on about how he won't fire McCarthy because he still regrets firing Wade Phillips when the team was 1-7, but then Wade goes on to the Broncos and was the real key to them winning the Super Bowl. And it's like, all right, that feels like ancient history in football terms. But if McCarthy is let go at the end of the year and he's maybe being set up to fail a little bit, will people say Belichick? I mean, is that even a possibility considering how big Jerry's ego is? Would he let someone like Belichick in the building?
I think at this point you have to be open to it. You have to be open to anything, right? Like we're past the point of infection that is so deep. We're like, I'll try whatever medicinal opportunity you can kind of put in front of me. Yeah. And I think that from an egotistical standpoint, maybe Jerry would view it as I was the person who courted Bill Belichick, like the mastermind, the GOAT, because nobody's ever done that in a technical sense. But my bold prediction for that day, if it comes, is that Jason Garrett gets an interview. Everything it feels that.
Oh my goodness!
No. That's my bold prediction. I mean, look, tell me you get that alert on a random Tuesday afternoon and you can't believe it. Tell me you wouldn't be able to believe that.
Wow.
Hey. Jason Garrett couldn't get the Duke job. Yeah. Anyway.
RJ, who wins the NFC East? Real quick, off top of your head.
Washington.
Don't even think about it.
Washington. It's their year. They win when everybody else stinks, and that's kind of the case right now. I mean, I'm so upset at the Cowboys because they're not allowing me to enjoy this Nick Sirianni fest. So, I mean, they've ruined even that for me.
How dare they? RJ Ochoa, you got to check out Blogging the Boys. It's a fantastic job, podcast, everything. It's just must listen, must read. Thank you, RJ. Appreciate it.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.
You too. Can you imagine him saying yesterday was one of the most, did you say the most toxic day?
One of the five most
toxic days in the history of the Cowboys. And considering like we have police blotters that are filled with Cowboys from back in the day.
That's business as usual.
Wow.
Having the Lions put out a hype video of their punter holding extra points in AT&T Stadium, that's bad.
Brutal. Oh, man. The Amari Cooper side of this is quite frankly one that I had not even thought of. They traded Cooper for a 6th-round pick or 5th-round pick?
I thought it was a swap. We'll check that. But, they gave up in 2019, they gave up at the trade deadline a 1st-round pick for Amari Cooper.
I remember.
So why on earth would you not give up a 3rd-round pick for Davante Adams?
I don't think they have the money to take the salary. I think that's what they would tell you. If you can't afford Derrick Henry, you're affording prorated Davante Adams salary?
Jets restructured that deal, though. The first year.
For this year.
Right.
Yep.
All of it's nonsense. If you could find a way. 855-212-4227. Ooh, lots more to do, including it's Wednesday, which means the great debate.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Super Bowl expectations back on for the New York Jets after they trade for Davante Adams yesterday. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You can see how far apart Perloff and I are on this.
Super Bowl expectations.
Super Bowl expectations.
Let's see them win a game on Sunday night. By the way, have you ever seen a more must-win Week 7 game for the Jets? I mean, they fall at 2-5, Maggie. Your Super Bowl take will immediately go to the wayside.
Okay, but think about it. That's how high the stakes are. So you can't say there's no stakes.
No, they get to the wild card. This is a parade-worthy season. If they make the playoffs, that's great.
Well, I think if you're going to make the playoffs and you have Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, then the goal should be Super Bowl. Like,
Why?
if you're there, you got to make the goal bigger because Rodgers has won a Super Bowl. He is a 4-time MVP, and he got his guy.
They couldn't even win a playoff game when they were the number 1 seed together. Why? And they're all of a sudden going to come out of a conference that has Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson? I just think that it's a little too rich.
I think this is the move. It may have been expected, but it was the move that the Jets had to make because you're all in. Like, you fired your head coach after 5 games. You're trying to turn the season around. Rodgers is shown he's healthy enough to play, and the move was out there to be made. You know, the Raiders are done. They want to, they should have actually traded Davante Adams last year. Quite frankly, they should have ate more of his salary this year to get better draft capital. They're in a total rebuild right now. It's the best thing for them.
I mean, counterpoint, they'd probably screw up whatever draft pick they get anyway.
Well, that's fine because Tom Brady is in the building now. More news. He was approved as the minority owner yesterday of the Las Vegas Raiders. So get ready for a lot more Tom Brady in your life, as if he ever went away.
Oh, well, I mean, he also is the lead Fox analyst.
I know.
So I don't know if you're going to get more because of the Raiders thing. Like, that's also an interesting thing. We'll get into it later. Like, is he going to call Raiders games? Was that discussed?
I think he will. The one stipulation is he can't have certain conversations with other teams because he's now considered the enemy.
Right. Are they definitely? They're not. I know that's happened before where they don't let certain guys in the room to do that pre-show meeting. But then again, like, I don't know. It's Tom Brady. He can get information if he needs it.
That he can watch film. I mean, it's fine. Listen, we're listening to Brady's broadcasts. This is a little more information from the coaches. I don't think is helping this thing.
Apparently, though, some teams have asked the NFL to let him come into the meetings because they want their coaches to be able to tell him what is going on, so he can explain it better on the broadcast.
It's interesting.
Also, there are teams who are okay with him being in these meetings.
Get your narrative out there.
Oh, to PR for PR,
to be so he can then tell you what they told him, and maybe that explains
why they
instead
suck?
of him being confused, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
It came up in the meeting, and he knows why they're doing it.
The coaches probably use that meeting very purposefully. They want to get this message out here that, hey, we're trying to fix the run game or whatever.
Yeah. Although every time a broadcaster references the meeting, I feel like I get nothing out of it. So maybe this stuff is mostly off the record or...
No, the coaches it's a PR opportunity for the coaches.
Totally.
So they want... Also, I'll bet you they kind of want to meet Tom Brady. Like, if you're an assistant, you're the OC, you're like, yeah, I want Brady in that room. Who would not want Tom Brady? Like, it's not like you're bringing my buddy Peter Schrager. Like, that's great. Everyone loves Pete. But would you say no to Tom Brady?
I just think, do you remember an old SNL skit called The Chris Farley Show with Chris Farley? And he used to interview famous people, but he would just fan out on them. Paul McCartney would come on and be like, remember when you wrote Let It Be? That's awesome. When you said the love you make is equal to the love you take, is that true? I feel like some of these coaches would just fan out on Brady. Like, remember when you were down 28-3 and you came back? That was awesome.
No, Tom be like, so what kind of offense are you going to run? I don't know, Tom, what would you run?
What would Giselle like? Anyway, so that was a lot of what happened yesterday. Davante Adams gets traded, so now Tom Brady is in the building with his former team, the Raiders. Literally, Mark Davis of the Raiders said, we traded Davante Adams for Tom Brady yesterday. He was joking, but that's why those two guys are both making some serious headlines. Okay, it's Wednesday around here. By the way, you're welcome to call on all this stuff, 855-212-4227. Is this going to work with Davante Adams? But on Wednesdays, we do something called The Great Debate.
The Great Debate Series.
All right, who says we never talk about baseball? Baseball postseason happening. exciting times for some of us. Today we're asking the question, who is the greatest postseason baseball player of all time?
Of all time.
All time.
So we're going back to 1887 with Legs McNeil or whoever.
Lefty Smith.
Jimmy Choo Choo or whatever. Yeah.
Yep, even him.
Lefty. All right.
The greatest postseason baseball player of all time is the great debate today in honor of the playoffs happening. Perloff, would you like to go first here?
I actually, for very specific and strategic reasons, would like to go last.
All right.
Because I'm winning this one. I'm just telling you guys right now, you're all fighting for second place.
Oh, was that a Babe Ruth call your shot?
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'll go first then. I'd be happy to. The greatest postseason baseball player of all time is someone you may know from your San Francisco Giants, Mr. Madison Bumgarner.
Madison Bumgarner is up. Getting ready as we play in the 5th inning now. Kane strikes out, and Bumgarner adds another scoreless inning. An MLB record, 48 2/3 innings pitched this postseason. Salvador Perez, the 2-2. Popped up. Send the ball in foul territory. Giants win!
That was just a compilation of Madison Bumgarner on short rest coming into Game 7 of the World Series against the Royals and pitching 5 innings of relief and closing out a championship. That was after he had already started Games 1 and 5. We're all talking about 2014. This was one of the most dominant runs, and he is electric. How about this? 5 World Series games for Madison Bumgarner that he's pitched. His ERA is .25. That's insane. He's a starter. He was a closer in that Game 7, but this is nuts. Also, especially painful, 2016 against my New York Mets, a 4-hit complete game shutout in a wild card game that pushed them to the NLDS. He's pitched 102 1/3 postseason innings with a 2.11 ERA. I mentioned the World Series games. Madison Bumgarner is the best postseason baseball player of all time. EJ.
Great pick. And I like the pick for one particular reason, because anybody that did not pitch or hit during the playoff expansion era was eliminated, because this is postseason. So I want to see you actually have to win multiple rounds. I want to see multiple rounds of success, not one round, just a World Series, or 2 rounds, just a championship series and a World Series.
Right, so you can accumulate home runs against horrible American League teams like Brady.
Don't worry. I don't got to worry about accumulating home runs, because my guy was coming in literally the most pressure-packed situation you can have in playoff baseball. I'm going with Mariano Rivera, enter Sandman, as my pick for greatest postseason player.
The 1-2 delivery. Strike 3 called. The Yankees have won it, and they lead in the series 3-1. What a performance again by Rivera. A virtual, unhittable pitcher.
That was Mariano Rivera closing down Game 4 of the 2000 World Series, where he had to come in and do 2 innings of relief. And I want to just run down Mariano Rivera's numbers when it comes to postseason baseball. Best ERA ever. Most career saves ever. He's 5th in WHIP, in which he's pitched 141 innings. Everyone else in the top 10 has not pitched over 70 innings. His win probability added is 11.7. You may not know what that means, but he's first place. The next guy, Kurt Schilling, is at 4.1. Not even in the ballpark, okay? Mariano Rivera was one of those rare players that was super elite when he played in the regular season, and somehow was actually better in the postseason. It's not 1 year off like, Bumgarner. We had one great year and the rest of his playoff career is good, but not like that. It's not, a guy who played in the 1920s. It's a guy who played in the modern baseball era, in the steroid era, mind you. Mariano Rivera is the greatest postseason player, and I don't really think it's close, to be honest.
Wait, what was his ERA? That was the best all time?
.42 is his career ERA in the playoffs.
What was Bumgarner? That was just
World
a playoff.
Series ERA is .25.
Poof.
All right, Ryan Botcher on the board today. Who's the greatest postseason baseball player of all time?
Same team, the New York Yankees. You can't ignore their captain, Derek Jeter. The longevity that he played with and the success he had. 200 hits in the postseason in his career, over 300 batting average, 5 World Series, including an MVP. You can't ignore the memorable plays he had, too. The flip, Mr. November, and a countless many others. He was the face of those teams and the face of Yankees winning for decades.
Love it. You getting a Jeter highlight? No? Okay.
I got none.
Who in your family told you about him, Ryan, since you're so young?
I remember when he hit the Mr. 3000 home run of David Price.
Yeah.
Wee lad.
A home run for his 3,000.
Not a playoff game, by the way.
No.
3,000 with an exclamation point, I believe, was the call by Michael K. Bogish, who is the greatest postseason baseball player of all time?
Well, I'm going to go back just quickly to EJ's pick because there were times where Mariano Rivera failed in the postseason, and one of those failures, actually two of those failures, helped set up my pick. In October, my first concern is the Mets winning. They are often not playing in October, so my second concern then becomes the Yankees not winning. And David Ortiz helped me as much as anybody from more Yankee victories and heartache by being the best postseason hitter of all time.
Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
Short and sweet from Joe Buck. That's Big Papi homering a few innings after Mo couldn't close out Game 4 of the ALCS. He blew the save in Game 5 as well the next day. Again, going past midnight. Ortiz, a game-ending RBI single in that one. In that one postseason, 3 game-ending hits over an 11-day span. Multiple World Series titles, an ALCS MVP, a World Series MVP. Big Papi, as good as it gets.
It's a great one.
Oh, I thought you were going Schilling for a second there.
No.
Because that was another blown save by Mariano. Anyway, sorry. I can't understand this. This is the greatest baseball player of all time. I thought I was
the greatest postseason.
Postseason player. But did we say the last 25 years and I missed it? What's going on here? You know, they've been playing this sport, the national pastime, for well over a century. And we're going 2010, 1998, 1996, 2004. What about all the old guys? I'm doing one player, Babe Ruth, who symbolizes all the other guys that came before, Derek Jeter. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig have the two highest OPSs in postseason history of 1.214. That's insane for an OPS. So they were the greatest hitters. The reason I went with the Babe over Lou Gehrig, the Babe was also 3-0 as a pitcher with a .87 ERA and won 2 World Series with the Red Sox. So he's arguably one of the top 5 World Series pitchers of all time and arguably the second greatest postseason hitter of all time. Take that, Shohei Ohtani. This guy was he was the American version of Shohei. Now, Ryan, you probably never heard of Babe Ruth. Before Shohei Ohtani came along, there was this chubby guy from Maryland named Babe George Herman Ruth. And he won a bunch of World Series. He called a shot against the Cubs in 32, possibly. I mean, who knows if it actually happened. He is not only the greatest player, he is carrying along with him Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax. They're all under the umbrella of my choice, Babe Ruth.
Well, you get one. You get Babe, but point taken.
Why did you guys didn't want to do Randy or Rosarena? Because he's got
he was on the list I saw last night.
God. Rosarena is unstoppable in the
What
postseason.
about Christy Matthews? What about Cy Young? And,
what about them?
You're like, John Lester was a killer in 2016.
I was going to go with David Freese.
Yeah, he's a good one, by the way.
All right, that's your great debate today. The greatest postseason baseball player of all time. Now, I think what happens sometimes with these great debates, because I was thinking about some of the older guys too, especially Koufax, right? But here's the thing. You barely had any rounds of the postseason. The postseason wasn't a thing back then. So you
didn't get to accumulate numbers against 500 teams.
You just didn't play a lot of postseason games. So there weren't even a lot of opportunities to really show your mettle. Like the Yankees.
Or to fail.
Right. The Yankees were juggernauts. And I just, not just the plumbers and firemen thing and Babe Ruth never having to play against any African-American players, not just that part of it, but just the lack of actual games because it was just regular season, World Series, that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, they still got a lot of games in Missouri. Yankees. Babe played 41 postseason games. That's not as many as like Pujols had 88. I know he had a lot, but still, that's a pretty big sample size. And there was more pressure, and you're playing really good teams. You weren't going up against. You didn't have a second. I mean, look at the teams that were in the playoffs this year. Some of them won like 86 games.
No,
One of them still playing.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Diamondbacks last year. Did they win like 85 games?
Yeah, 83, I think.
Yeah. So I understand your argument, but I still think the pressure of the World Series. Like I think Bob Gibson would have been picked by somebody too, because if you ever look back at the highlights of that,
Who's that?
And Sandy Koufax struck out almost half the batters he faced in the World Series. He's insane.
I know, but again, it's like were there just not enough games?
It's also too, baseball was so primary to the country back then. Like, and less so with Garrett, but in the 50s, like the picture like a Monday Night Football with the Cowboys. That's what it was like. Like the whole world was like running home to get by their radio to listen to Bob Gibson pitch in the World Series. Now it's just like on TBS.
Well, the game was in the afternoon, right? Those games were usually like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It wasn't even
because people go to bed at dark.
There's some executives like, should we preempt Bones for Game 4? I don't even know.
I'm gonna be honest. I was very shocked when I went to Fox last night. I was like, "Are you serious?" Then I remember that the Yankees were on TBS. 855-212-4227. But the broadcast sounded good. Okay, there's your great debate for today. The greatest postseason baseball player of all time. Perloff went with Babe Ruth.
Yeah, you ever heard
of him?
Candy?
Can you put that in the poll in parentheses? Ever heard of him?
The guy from The Sandlot.
The rest of us went with some more modern selections. Mine, Madison Bumgarner, EJ with Mariano Rivera, Ryan with Derek Jeter, and Bogish with Big Papi David Ortiz. 855-212-4227. What did you say, Perloff? Your pick is symbolic of every other player from before 1980.
I get the Iron Horse.
Do you get Reggie Jackson, too, just from the 70s?
No. I mean, it just feels like
the pre-color TV era?
You have to admit, we did skew quite modern on this list, except for me.
Mariano Rivera is not
timeless.
Yeah,
Mariano's the
1986.
He's the only unanimous Hall of Famer.
Right.
855-212-4227. Jeter almost got there.
Just a lot of baseball history before we all arrived on the scene. That's the way it was.
True.
That's true. Next, Ken Burns. We'll do it now. 855-212-4227. The greatest postseason baseball player of all time was who? You're welcome to weigh in. It's Maggie and Perloff.
How'd you do, Maggie?
I did amazing. Thank you, Prize Picks. Thank you, New York Yankees. Thank you, Aaron Judge. Combination with Garrett Cole, actually, because I took the under on Cole and I took the over on Judge, and that's why Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Great Debate Wednesday. Greatest playoff player in the history of Major League Baseball. I went with Babe Ruth. Maggie?
I went with Madison Bumgarner.
I went with Mariano Rivera.
Ryan?
Derek Jeter.
And David Ortiz.
There you go.
It's funny. So you like the Red Sox because they beat up the Yankees?
I liked a lot of teams for beating the Yankees. I liked the Mariners. I liked the Manny, Jim Tomei, anyone that could help me avoid Yankee World Series was my friend.
Well, Josh Beckett, Marlins.
Oh, thank goodness for Josh Beckett.
In the chat, we're getting some answers. Abido says Daniel Murphy. So you got a little Mets fan there. And Daniel Murphy's run really was historic. It gets lost because the Mets didn't win the World Series.
Jeez Louise.
Multiple back-to-back SI covers. That was a thing.
Yeah, because SI is in New York. Give me a break, Daniel Murphy.
Look it up. Daniel Murphy
they had like three in a row, Jeremy Lin. And
he was like the natural Daniel Murphy during that run.
God.
Pearl, go to the highlights.
Daniel, okay.
Google him.
Yogi Berra.
Yeah, Yogi Berra. I've heard of that dude.
RBS.
Yeah, Yogi Berra won like 10 World Series. We can talk about him. We can't talk about Daniel Murphy.
855-212-4227. Before we get to Bogus's update, can I ask you guys a question? So speaking of baseball, back in July, when the Mets had turned things around a little bit, but the Yankees were just in free fall, I made two bets, both the Yankees and the Mets to win the World Series. I put $5 on each one. Now, here I am. I never thought any of these. I just did it on kind of a lark, I did it on a whim. Thought, everyone's kind of down on these teams. Maybe I'll just do it. So here we are with both the Yankees and the Mets now in their respective championship series. And I put $5 on the Mets at plus 7,500. So my $5 bet would pay out $380.
Nice.
Or the Yankees at plus 550. So my $5 pays off $32.50. Now I can cash out on either of these right now. My Mets bet would be at $56. My Yankee bet at $14. Should I cash out?
No, because you're basically getting huge odds right now. Like you would make that bet again, put $5 to get an additional 280. Like, yeah, you would definitely make that bet on the bets now because what is it, 1-1 with the Dodgers? Like they have a great chance to come out of this.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think you'd be crazy to cash out at 56.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a $5.
For a $5
yeah.
bet. I get it. My mortgage is not riding on this. It's just a little something to keep it interesting.
No, I mean, like you would be the opportunity cost. Like you would give up the opportunity to win $280 for $5.
No, for $50, right? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, what would you? What's the odds now for the Mets to win it all?
I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But anyway,
because,
that's a little something going on in my DraftKings.
That's
account.
exciting.
I know. And the fact that the team I root for is in the NLCS. That's exciting. Was not expecting that.
Nobody
in May. They look like the worst team to ever take a field. Literally, one of their relief pitchers was like, "Get me out of here. This is the worst team I've ever been on." And now they're 3 games away from going to the World Series.
They showed that clip from Game 1, and I was like, I forgot that era of Mets baseball.
That was this season.
That was this season. I could not believe that. They showed
Grimace.
they did a compilation of all the things that have happened. We've talked a lot about them. Grimace, Ochoa, all the Jazz, Rally Pimp. And then they showed that guy, Lopez, throwing his glove into the stands. I was like, wow, that was also this year.
OMG.
Crazy.
Bogusch has headlines for us as Perloff is getting the current World Series odds.
So, guys, last night in Columbus, the Blue Jackets played their home opener and honored teammate Johnny Gaudreau, who was killed alongside his brother by an alleged drunk driver in late August. The Jackets and the Panthers wore special Gaudreau jerseys during warm-ups. The team raised a banner with his name to the rafters pregame. And for the opening faceoff, the players stayed still for 13 seconds as an honor to Gaudreau's jersey number. Columbus center Sean Monahan, one of Gaudreau's best friends.
Felt like Johnny was watching down on us today, so I had a feeling I was going to get one. Fortunately enough, I did. We lost, which sucks, but I definitely could feel John today.
Monahan did score, but the Blue Jackets did lose the game 4-3 to the Panthers. The Flames, Gaudreau's previous team, beat Chicago last night 3-1. They are 4-0 for just the third time in franchise history. NFL owners welcomed more than Tom Brady into their club yesterday at the same time that Brady got approval for his spot in Vegas. Pistons owner Tom Gore is allowed to buy 27% of the Chargers. Now, he's got no say in day-to-day operations. He's got no path to full ownership, but Gores does have a larger stake in the team than any individual member of the Spanos family. In Game 1 of the ALCS, Cleveland pitching walked 7 batters through 5 wild pitches. In Game 2 last night, it was 2 errors leading to 2 unearned runs and the lineup going hitless with runners in scoring position, leaving 11 men on base, twice leaving the bases loaded. They lost the game 6-3 at Yankee Stadium, dropping into an 0-2 hole. Manager Stephen Vogt remains confident.
We do what we do. We get on base. We make things happen. We just didn't get a big hit with runners in scoring position tonight. You know, we're one swing of the bat away from taking the lead in that game. We're one swing of the bat from being right back in it. That's who we are. We don't quit. We just need to keep being us.
The Yankee win included Aaron Judge's first homer of this postseason. He drove in 3 after beginning the night with just 1 RBI. The Mets and Dodgers resume the NLCS today after splitting in L.A. Shohei Ohtani remains Dave Roberts' leadoff hitter despite being 0 for 19 in these playoffs with the bases empty.
There's some tweaks that I do make as far as, Teo, Freddie, the 5-6, maybe the 7-8-9. But to think that I'm going to move Shohei to the 4 or the 3, that's just not going to happen.
This is a weird...
What happened? Okay.
This is such a weird split.
Yeah.
To be 0 for 19 with nobody on base, and he's 6 for 8 when there is a guy on base.
I mean, this is just like people who say you can't quantify clutch or something like that. Isn't it stuff like I know there are clutch stats, late and close, runners in scoring position. I mean, this is the definition of clutch.
Yeah, but the other end being empty when the bases are empty is the odd part to me. Like he can't.
Yeah, it's odd.
What's the difference?
Pitchers can be more aggressive, right? Because they don't care.
Or pitch around him so that he.
But he's 0 for 19. He's not walking.
He's
actually swinging and missing or making contact into outs.
Or yeah, maybe you feel like you can really go at him because a solo home run doesn't generally hurt you.
Yeah, you're not scared of him at all. Because what can he do to you? But I love what Schwarber batting first for the Phillies.
Right.
I'd just like to see the slugger get up as many times as possible.
The Tampa Bay Times reported yesterday Tropicana Field will not be ready for opening day next March because of the damage sustained from Hurricane Milton. Access to the building is still limited, so the full extent of the damage remains unclear. So how much time the Rays will be homeless is unknown right now. There are minor league stadiums nearby. There are bigger cities like Charlotte and Nashville that might want major league teams down the road. They could be hosts, or there's also the Marlins Stadium, but the teams currently have 49 conflicting home dates, so that would take a lot of scheduling juggling. So this could be a problem for a weekend, or it might be a problem for the entire season, which is crazy.
Also, they're on the brink of building a new stadium, so why spend millions to fix this roof? That is a bad spot right there.
The stadium is not till 2028, though, so that's 3 full seasons of doing something. And they, as we've learned, you have to have a roof so you can play during random Florida rainstorms, which is the problem with all the minor league and spring training complexes. Nobody's got roofs.
So Jim Bowden, I think MLB Network, or where is he? He's anyway. He reports on MLB. He said it's going to cost 9 figures to replace that roof. So I don't even know. Like if you're building a new one, what is 9 figures? Someone do the math.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not even. And
that's like a hard decision, I think.
And that's just the roof. Like they're with the roof coming off and other damage. Apparently, there is interior offices that have been open to the elements since this happened. So it's not just like, okay, we got to put up a new Teflon roof. They don't know if the structure that holds the roof is safe. And then there's all the stuff inside the building that is screwed as well.
Okay. We're trying to be a solution-based show.
You got one here?
I think I might have one for you. I just needed to look up something because I was pretty sure about this. Yep, and my suspicions are correct. Besides the Oakland A's, who just went through this ridiculously traumatic season where the team is leaving to go to Vegas, right? And they'll go to Sacramento first or whatever. Guess who the next 2 lowest attendance teams are in Major League Baseball?
The Rays and the Marlins.
You got it. You said they have 49 conflicting dates. Why don't you make all those dates just double headers or something and make it cool and charge single admission for 2 games or like
With
make
4
it
teams?
funky and it's fun.
Charge single admission and lose 50 games of revenue?
But you're getting 13,000 people a game on average, and I bet those numbers are probably goosed. It's probably more like $5,000. You might just make this whole thing a gimmick and maybe charge a little more, but you get to see 4 teams. I know the clubhouses would. I don't know if it's too many people for clubhouses, but I don't know. Let's get creative here. These 2 teams could use a little PR.
Well, how far is Tampa from Miami?
It's a pretty far drive. I think that's.
But it's doable.
You just relocate.
Yes, it's
you'd
doable.
You'd be
definitely.
relocating for Tampa.
Well, but for the fans, you could
What
do
fans?
well,
Sorry.
the 5 of them wanted to go to a game. You could go from St. Pete, Tampa to Miami.
I just think
No, you can't. You can't do. You can't go for a day.
That's a 4-hour drive. That's
it's a lot.
Yeah.
But here's
That's not what it was in the article. That's not what it said. But okay, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I've just Googled Tampa. I mean, Tampa and Miami are totally different sizes.
No, I know.
Right?
The article that I read made it seem like you were not displacing Rays fans by going to Miami. So I'm surprised. I didn't realize it was a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
Because no one's doing an 8-hour round trip.
I'm sure that flight is super cheap.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
I know.
But
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, again, it's one of the lowest attendance. It's not like, you're taking, let's see, who's the highest attended? The Dodgers, and saying, all right, we got to move you 4 hours away. Like, this could help. I don't know. I feel bad for the Rays fans, but they haven't gone to see the team anyway. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. The team is, hit and miss.
I assume they're both Bally Sports, and I know we can whole deal about RSNs, but I would assume that they would not be happy with having to have a bunch of Rays games at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays.
maybe not.
That would, who would watch that?
I mean, I wonder.
Who's watching it now?
I mean, as Florida, there are a lot of retired people. I mean, maybe that's the one state. Maybe you actually may get decent ratings, but I don't know.
I mean, you could Orlando or Jacksonville or even Atlanta in play too. I think they're close to Tampa.
Yeah, I think that they got to go to a place that would be theirs, even if it's not in Florida.
What about playing at Disney World? Do you think Disney World's got a place for them to play?
They do have those fields, but those are booked by so many amateur events, and it's obviously not a major league facility.
They have stands, I don't know.
They have certainly they have some stands because I think that the Braves still or somebody did play spring training games there, so they've got to have at least one stadium that's got a couple of thousand seats.
Turner Field still exists. Like, it's not called Turner Field anymore, but like Georgia State football plays there. Like, can you go to Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh, empty stadium.
That's still too far for a day trip anyway.
No, I know. I mean, this is bad. This is all bad case scenarios, worst case scenarios. I feel terrible for the people that do like the Rays, but I'm just thinking of open stadiums like that. That's still out there.
I would say my favorite solution, and it's along the lines of what you say, Maggie, do a minor league thing. Like
they could play at the Yankees minor league
Yeah,
facility.
yeah.
George
Or, like,
Steinbrenner Field
rotate.
is beautiful, but to Bogus's point, Florida weather.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you're
there's a
getting
minor
so
league
many
team that
rainouts.
plays there, so you have to do something with that schedule too.
That's not just a spring training facility.
No, the Tampa Yankees play there.
Yeah,
which I
but
think is only single A, so it's less games to deal with, but it's still games to deal with.
How about you rotate to all the different minor league stadiums there?
Oh, Port St. Lucie, and then you're in Port Charlotte, and then
The
you're
ones
in,
on the West Coast,
and
yeah.
the Rays obviously have a spring training site, but that's another outdoor thing, so you're constantly then dealing with weather delays, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Or playing in extreme heat and humidity the entire summer in Florida.
And though, considering some of the devastation, I feel like this is 100 on the list of things. But
I slightly
it's
disagree.
something,
I think
'cause
it's pretty symbolic. It is the image of the hurricane.
You're right, but
Yeah.
and to your point, do you want to spend 9 figures to fix a roof when you're just about to build
Yeah.
a new stadium anyway?
That
That
baseball-
money could be used for a million other things.
Yeah, a lot of jobs though for baseball games. So I don't think it's a nothing thing.
true.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many baseball games.
And I'm assuming they do other things in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like that, you have to repair it. Unless, I don't know, were they going to destroy it for the new? I don't think so. For the new place.
I can't imagine they were going to destroy it.
I mean, it's not much of a stadium. My sense is.
People hate
I've
it.
been there. It's not great.
Oh, you've been there? Right.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like destroying that would be any great loss.
No, it would not. I mean, but we didn't want to see this be the reason why it goes down early, maybe. But this seems like there's no good answer for this.
No.
Which is really terrible. I mean,
Pine Needle has a one in the chat. Sorry, EJ. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet. Play at the Buccaneer Stadium for a season, modify it, and everything will be fine. Again, Bucs Stadium, literally right. Well, it's not right there,
Yeah.
but they have like a whole sports kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's closer to where the Yankees are.
Yes,
That's all together.
It's like all right there.
Yes.
And the famous strip club, what's it called? Something about something 3,000. Oh, come on, guys.
Sounds
help
like
me
you
out.
should know.
It's right on the way to the stadium. No.
If you say so, Maggie.
All the married and engaged folks just
You got
close their
Mons
mouths.
Venus.
I've never
Oh,
heard of that.
yeah. I've heard of that one.
You guys, you
By
definitely
the way,
heard
you
of
know
this.
what is actually kind of fun? Right next to the stadium, there's a massive, and I mean massive, dog racing park, a Greyhound park.
Yeah.
They should play there.
Where?
And I don't know.
On the track?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. I mean, you just want to put him in Raymond James Stadium. Like, you're going to have to refit something.
Put him in Mons Venus.
Yeah.
The attendance, I bet, would be through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, did you see the cannons? Keep the cannons, though, if you're going to play. There was somebody who freaked out on the cannons recently. I saw like 2 weeks ago. There was a player
Yeah, I
who didn't
saw
know
that.
they were about to fire. And it's like, somebody's shooting.
Anything else, folks?
No, I'm done.
Wow, we got really into that stadium talk.
That's a big story. Because I do think if you think, hey, what's the one image of this hurricane? Everybody immediately says the hole in the roof of the stadium.
Yeah, and if it displaces a pro team for an entire season, that's a huge story.
Yeah, and it does seem like a pro team that in an area that definitely needs some help right now.
855-212-4227. Folks, thanks a lot. Coming up, I had some major trades yesterday in the NFL. It was a busy day. We'll give you the details in just a moment.
You're in a 5-minute break.
All right, looks like no sponsor today. Here you go.
Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We've talked a lot about Davante Adams getting traded to the Jets, Perloff. We have not touched really on Amari Cooper getting traded to my Buffalo Bills, and it's a move that I think is fantastic. I'm totally in favor of this. It was been more than obvious and clear ever since that game to Miami where the offense was really cooking. Once they started to play some more stout defenses, you just saw the difference. You know, they just don't have a number one. The Bills don't have enough playmakers.
Yeah.
And I think what I most appreciate about this move that the Bills made in trading with the Browns is that I think the Bills went into this season not really knowing what they had. They got rid of a lot of veterans. It was, Stephon Diggs obviously at the top of the list. It was sort of the Josh Allen 2.0 era. How's this team going to look when they get to get a little younger? And I think the team has rewarded the front office by playing hard and by showing they are still contenders. And you also look around at the rest of the AFC, and the Chiefs will always be the Chiefs, and the Ravens look great. Who are the juggernauts, though? The Ravens and the Chiefs will always give the Bills issues in the postseason, right? Especially the Chiefs. The Cincinnati Bengals got off to a really rough start. And I know you're very big on the fact that they're going to rebound, and they might. But there just feels like the AFC, is not, there's nobody really running away with it. So why not try to make an investment in this team? Even if you thought it was like a mini rebuild or something like that, every year you have Josh Allen, you have a chance.
Wait, so you were saying I'm just curious, because if you extend this out, so you mean if there was a team that was really hot, other than the Chiefs, which are a different animal, I think.
Chiefs are different.
That you would say that the Bills would not have Super Bowl aspirations? Like you're saying this was an opportunity. With Josh Allen, aren't you always thinking Super Bowl anyway, no matter what the other AFC teams are doing?
Yes, and I should mention the Texans in that conversation. The Texans also are definitely going to be there at the end. They will be heard from.
But I feel like it's interesting. Like if I said that, you'd be like, oh, that's loser energy. You have Josh Allen. You should be thinking Super Bowl no matter what's happening. Not because, the Ravens defense looks bad.
No, I that's my first part is they're playing hard, and with Josh Allen, you always have a chance. But I think they weren't sure how this was going to go.
I think what you're saying is they were sort of in a somewhat of a rebuild mode.
I think they were just in a wait and see a little bit. Like, all right, can we do this with this, receiver by committee, and maybe Keon Coleman hits the ground running, and maybe Khalil Shakir stays healthy. I think they weren't sure, and they were just in a wait and see. And then the Cooper situation, but obviously they've been making calls to Cleveland. They were definitely, quote unquote, monitoring the situation in Las Vegas. And I wonder if they were also waiting to see a little bit what the Jets would look like.
What do you mean?
Not that they were ever going to do that, hey, we're just going to call the season off if Aaron Rodgers looks great. But maybe they were waiting to see a little bit, like, is this team going to go 13-3 or something?
No.
Anyway.
No. I don't think they were scared. I agree with all that. But there is something like, I would have really felt much better if it was Davante Adams coming to Buffalo, which was probably not going to happen because Davante did not want to do that.
Well, supposedly one of the reasons, first of all, it just makes more sense to go with Rodgers. They have this chemistry,
right. That's what I was thinking.
8 years together in Green Bay. Obviously, the Jets are going to win out. The other part of it, though, is a money issue. If you believe the salary cap is not just a figment of our imagination, the fact that the they restructured Amari Cooper, so they only cost $1 million right now. As opposed to Davante Adams, which the Jets are eating all of the salary, which is now the prorated whatever's left over 11 games of $17 million. So if you believe it, there was also a money aspect to this too.
How's it, one thing about Cooper, a little bit of a concern, and I like the trade too, is that he's been on, multiple teams. I think, obviously, I don't remember whether he was happy in the Raiders, but obviously he had a falling out with the Cowboys. He's completely had a falling out with the Browns. Now, obviously, you had your best receiver last year had a falling out with the team, and you want to run the ball all the time. Is there a chance that Cooper is a bit of a, what's the term I'd use, sour apple? Like maybe because Cooper, there might be games where they don't use Cooper at all. Is he going to be okay with that?
Well, this is why I love the trade, is because as far as I can tell, there is no guarantee of anything past this season.
Got it.
So if you're Amari Cooper and you just got a lifeline, I mean, this is the best thing that could have happened to you. This is somebody who openly wanted out of Cleveland even before the season started. He was like, you want to trade me to the 49ers for Brandon Ayuk? Let's do it. He clearly wants to be on a contender, obviously. And who gets this opportunity? Here you go. Here's Josh Allen for you. After you had a career year last year with the likes of Flacco and a little Deshaun Watson and P.J. Walker and all the combined poo-poo platter of Browns quarterbacks from last year. Now you get Josh Allen. You better be on your P's and Q's. This is not a time to get sour. This is a time to put the best stuff possible on tape and try to get another contract.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Carrot out there.
He's a bit of a confusing player because I think the Cowboys they got a little better when he left because CD emerged. But, I think it's a no-brainer, but I still hold out a little bit of seed of doubt about Amari Cooper, the player. He's a bit mysterious. He's got a little bit of Derek Carr vibe in the sense that we call Derek Carr the Bermuda Triangle of quarterback evaluation. You're like, yeah, Amari Cooper's really good, but there's always a but. I don't know what it is, and I'm curious if he'll really step into this role and be what Diggs used to be. I don't really think they need that necessarily. They need it more of because they do want to run the ball.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But this is where I think I'll give Amari Cooper a little benefit of the doubt. You had Jason Garrett as your coach. He had you off the field on crucial 3rd and 4th downs, weirdly, for the Cowboys. I don't know. I felt like there was a lot to be desired at the end of those Jason Garrett years, which was when Amari Cooper was there. So
he got traded during the McCarthy first year.
Right.
When they were really good.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because the Cowboys certainly don't get my benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I know, but this is his 4th team. Maybe there's something there. I think you're right. I think you love this short-term guy, but you're like anybody. Stephon Diggs can behave for 9 games.
Yeah, that's fine. Also, think of the places that Amari Cooper, so he gets drafted to the Raiders. Good luck to you. Then you go to the Cowboys for the end of one coach and the beginning of another. There's a lot of upheaval. Then you go to the Browns. I mean, this has not exactly been the who's who. It's not like the Steelers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Green Bay Packers gave up on him, Big Dave is our pal in Kentucky. Big Dave, how you feeling, sir?
Hey, I'm great, but I'm not feeling as good as you should be because you should be over the moon about this Amari Cooper trade.
I am. I'm super excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think this will be a much more impactful trade than the Davante Adams trade because I think it's like you touched on it just a second ago. I think he was very underutilized at Dallas, and I think he puts the Bills over the top. I really think he is what they were lacking, and I think it will pay great dividends. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. Listen, would I have also loved if they had maybe traded for, I don't know, like another safety or something like that? They definitely have some issues on the defense too. But listen, I think it's a solid trade, and it's all about being all in for right now.
So, Dave, when you say over the top, you mean like they beat the Chiefs this year in the playoffs? That kind of over the top?
Yes, I think it puts them closer than they've ever been. I think it's a piece that they were missing, gives them more options. I think so. I mean, I'm not going to predict that they do, but yes, I am. I'm going out on a limb right now. Synchronize your watches. Today I declare that the Buffalo Bills will be the AFC champions this year.
Dave, I love it. But here's a question, Dave. You jumped off the Cowboys bandwagon, and rightfully so. Or I'm sorry, you not bandwagon. You were a lifelong fan, and then you just waved the white flag like, no more. I can't take it. I surrender. I'm looking for a new team. You could have come to the Bills. You decided to go to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Merely geographical.
Kentucky.
Because, I'm just about 2.5 hours away from Cincinnati. The majority of my friends are Bengals fans. So that's what that was about. It really had nothing to do with the free. I love Burrow. I mean, Burrow's a Southern Ohio kid, not to, again, probably he grew up like 2.5, 3 hours from me. But speaking of the Cowboys, real quick, and also on your guys' poll question, nobody mentioned Mr. October, Reggie Jackson, which came to mind.
The greatest postseason baseball player of all time is our great debate today. We only got about 25 seconds left, Dave. What do you got on the Cowboys and Jerry?
Real quick, seriously, where does this all go? I mean, seriously, where does this go? It's got to this point. Where does this go? I mean, what do they do? I don't think he's going to yield power. You guys tell me seriously, where do you think that this goes with the Cowboys? It's never gotten this bad.
I mean, sounds like straight to the insane asylum. I mean, I honestly, Dave, it's like we're living in crazy times, and that's saying something considering it's Jerry and the Cowboys. Appreciate you, Big Dave. Think about this. RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys joined us earlier. He said yesterday was one of the top 5 most toxic days in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Big Dave just called, somebody who's already given up on the Cowboys after a lifelong, time of rooting for them, and is asking, it's never been this bad. Where does it go from here? It is panic time. I've never heard Cowboy fans like this.
Really? Yeah, but Dave's so cynical. I mean, you should be more excited about the Bills. Dave's got the Bills winning it all.
How about that? I'm excited. Okay, coming up, we have one bold prediction for the NFL season. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Change could be on the horizon for one NFL contender. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So glad to have you on Infinity Sports Network. So we've been talking a lot about Davante Adams got traded to the Jets yesterday, Perloff, and now it sets up a must-win game for the Jets against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday night. Because if you're going to move heaven and earth to get all of Aaron Rodgers' weapons there, well, now you got to deliver. Now the Super Bowl expectations are back on, and the Pittsburgh Steelers could really drive a stake right through the heart of the Jets if they win this game on Sunday and drop the Jets to 2-5. Now the Steelers, it looks like, are not going to do this the easy way, which I'm a little surprised at, quite frankly, because I think people revere the Steelers for being a well-run organization and kind of really minimizing the self-inflicted wounds, right, of the things that cause distractions. Like, well, their players cause distractions, but they don't do it.
Last year, they were all about the self-inflicted wounds with Matt Canada as their offensive coordinator. But there seems to be this trend towards this sort of, I have a flat tire, so this is why I'm going to use this analogy. They seem to be taking a knife to their tires on offense consistently.
Well, that's the truth. But that's at least like it's a philosophy, right?
Yeah, no, it's Tomlin wants to win with defense and play conservatively on offense.
Right. So the Steelers now, though, I'm talking about, can you make things a little easier on yourself? So this is the chance. You have an opportunity to take out an AFC competitor. Take them out. And this is the time now we're flirting with a quarterback change? This is what I don't understand from the Steelers. So here's Mike Tomlin talking about Russell Wilson, saying that he's healthy and that he may start on Sunday.
Over the course of the week, I got comfortable with his ability to display his health. Now it's about, knocking the rust off. He did some of that last week. He is in consideration this week. We'll see where that leads us.
Okay, so in consideration, Tom Pelissero, I believe, of NFL Network said Russell Wilson's in line to play on Sunday. So here's more from Tomlin. He said Wilson and Fields will be evaluated to see who will start.
Both guys at the quarterback position are scheduled to work tomorrow, and we'll just walk it day by day, all geared toward putting ourselves in best position to win the football game.
Okay. Well, you may be wondering to yourself, okay, well, yeah, maybe the Steelers' offense hasn't looked gangbusters. Maybe you saw them lose to the Cowboys, Perloff, at home. I would understand it. But they're also 4-2.
Yeah.
They've been winning. So here's Mike Tomlin on why Justin Fields still hasn't secured QB1.
Justin has been really good, and we've been really good at times, but not to be confused with great. Man, this is a competitive league, man. We're trying to position ourselves to be that team. and we got a player with talent who hadn't had an opportunity to play, so we're going to potentially explore those things. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what Justin has done or has not done.
I'm sorry, is Patrick Mahomes sitting on the bench? Is this still Russell Wilson, right? This is not, what year is it? Is it 2014 or is it 2024? Because I'm struggling, Perloff, to see, even in the best case scenario, is Russell Wilson going to be that much of an upgrade over Justin Fields?
Well, Justin Fields, they're 26 in total offense, 28th in passing. So probably a passing upgrade. I mean, there's
to who? Pickens and Van Jefferson and Fry?
I mean, last year Wilson was not good and still was not 28th in passing. I mean, his numbers were pretty good. So I think I would understand if Mike Tomlin's looking at his team and say, wow, we're way too one-dimensional on offense. So we're eventually, if we really want to do anything of any consequence this year, we have to get multi-dimensional. Now, personally, I do not believe Russell Wilson is playing this weekend.
Oh, you think it's a smoke screen? A little I just playing mind games with the Jets?
I can't imagine that Wilson is going to be up to speed for a key game. Like, I just think that, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand Mike Tomlin. He would not fire Matt Canada last year when the whole world could see that their offense was terrible. The Steelers do weird things when it comes to their offensive philosophy, so they could go here. I don't think that this is sustainable with Justin Fields. He's just not. I'm not going to say he's not seeing the field. Like, he just holds on to the ball forever. At a certain point, defenses adjust, and I think they're going to adjust to Fields. Because Fields, to me, has not developed in that, and it's not even his fault. It's really the offense. He has not developed as the kind of quarterback that they want this year. But he's like, kind of, his numbers keep going down.
Yeah, you see some flashes. He had a really nice rollout against the Raiders, like this rollout to the left, and he just hit George Pickens on a rope.
You said rollout. How about he drops back 3 steps and throws a pass?
Well, to be fair, they're starting 2 rookies on that offensive line, and he's using the gifts that he has. You get a 2nd and 14, and, for some reason, the Red Sea's part, and Justin Fields is picking that thing up, no problem. I don't even know if Russell Wilson wants to run with he wouldn't even, I don't even want to take that kind of play. I think the play calling, too, is very disjointed. They'll run 10 run plays in a row, then 3 pass plays in a row, and 4 pass plays in a row. It's just odd to me a little bit with the play calling. But listen, these offensive coordinators know more than me.
You brought in Arthur Smith. What did you expect? Sean McVay?
Well, a little creativity with what you have.
Dude, you had Bijan Robinson last year and decided not to use him at all in Atlanta. We all knew. That's something the fans all knew, that Arthur Smith was going to call a clunky game. Yeah, I mean, Fields has not been great, but you got to play him against the Jets here. I mean, this is, if you want to win this game, like, Fields is built to play the Jets.
Yeah, I've seen, I agree with you. Running quarterback has given Jets some fits. I think that this is the other part, too. I've seen a little of this. You shouldn't lose your job to injury. But let's be fair. What stranglehold did Russell Wilson have on this job to begin with? He and Fields basically came to the facility 4 days apart or something like that. It's not like I know they said QB1, but that was long before anyone had ever been to an OTA, a practice. So to me, it's not that same thing like Texas with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, where one guy gets hurt and now are you going to lose your job to injury? This is a lot more gray area than that.
I hear you, but I mean, you have to understand, like, you can't really have 130 yards of passing every week. You're not going to, are you going to beat the Bengals and the Ravens consistently? You got to, at a certain point, you got to start to unleash the ball. And I think, honestly, like, Fields could do better. I think they should call more. I don't understand. I know Pickens is a big story. Like, I just throw to that guy all the time.
He's so good.
Throw to the guy all the time. Good. They just do not want to do it.
Yeah.
They just want to be conservative. So it's not Fields' fault. But his last 2 games, 145 yards against the Raiders and 131 against the Cowboys. That's like Bo Nix numbers.
Okay, well, the weather was bad for the Cowboys, 1. But 2, against the Raiders, you watch that game. I mean, they had a 22-7 lead for a lot of it, and it felt insurmountable for the Raiders because the Raiders are not very good and had their top 2 wide receivers out in that game. So in some ways, I think you just sort of won the game you were in. And I don't know.
I mean, week 1, 156 against Atlanta. Week 2, 117 against Denver. Then 245 against the Chargers. That's pretty good. Then his big game was
and those are all wins.
His big game was 312 versus the Colts, and they were harmless for 90% of that game. Like, they couldn't do anything against the Colts. And then he put a bunch of garbage numbers in the second half and a loss. Like, this offense is not great. He's a fantastic runner, but they're not clicking all cylinders. And I kind of agree with you. I think it's more about the coordinator than Fields, but I just maybe expect a little more.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers tell the story here with this Pittsburgh offense. And like Fields' numbers, as you just said, I mean, he had impressive numbers in a loss. They meant nothing. They were empty.
Yeah,
they
started off that game real slow. They went in the half with just 3 points, and they were lucky to have those 3 points. Actually, no, I think Pickens fumbled around the goal line in that game. But they basically, the first quarter, they couldn't move the ball at all against the Colts. And that's scary if you're Pittsburgh, because you should. You have some talent there. Fields should be able to move the ball.
Well, you know who agrees with, I guess you and I both on the same page. This is rare when you and I align on something that Fields should start this game. Not just you and me, but future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger. He's got a podcast called Footballin' with Ben Roethlisberger, and he said he would not pull Justin Fields.
I would absolutely not even think about taking him out of the game right now. I would keep him in there, and even if he has a bad game, I would keep him in there because right now they're rolling. Yeah, they lost 2. They got this win, but I think he's playing well enough.
Okay, more from Ben Roethlisberger. He says Fields is playing well and brings a different dynamic than Russell Wilson.
I thought he played well. It's good to know what you have at the backup, and Russ is there if you need him. I just think what you're going to get from Russ is more pocket presence to throw the ball down the field, but you're not going to get that extend the play like Justin does, because he's a running back there when he decides to run. He's a really, really talented runner as well.
So I ask you, especially not just for the next opponent for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is the New York Jets, who I know the defense had some question marks after the last game, but on paper they have a good defense. The Giants were knocking around Joe Burrow a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they lost Thibodeau, but yeah. Oh, yeah, actually,
no,
right.
They were still good without him. Sexy Dexy and Brian Burns. These guys were getting to Burrow.
Yes.
Is this who you want to put Russ in for so he can be back there, like potentially maybe a statue because he's coming off of a lower leg injury, a calf injury? Doesn't make sense to me. The Fields should definitely start these next 2.
Yeah, I hear you, but so when are you going Russ? Or are you just going to sort of play this out?
Listen,
make the wild card with Justin Fields and get killed in the playoffs.
Well, I've been saying this for a while. Once you saw the Steelers' schedule and how backloaded it is, right? The Steelers have 4 AFC North games in a row. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns. Then at the Eagles, then at the Ravens, then the Chiefs, then the Bengals. It's a rough schedule. You might end up needing Russell Wilson anyway to get yourself through that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what those teams will be. If Burrow's wrist is still attached to the rest of his arm by then, Cleveland will be terrible. So it's a long season. Yeah, I mean, I do at least understand, like, Tomlin wants to see Wilson. So why not now? I mean, this Jets game is important, but it's not that important. Maybe that Giants game seems like that's a great chance to put Russ. See what you got.
Okay, maybe the Giants, but again, they were getting to Burrow. I'd be a little worried about their pass rush getting home. But this is why I say that you don't want to mess with anything before the Jets game. This game is extremely important to the Jets, especially after the Davante Adams trade. But you could knock out an AFC partial contender. You could send the Jets.
The Jets are
2-5.
Yeah, I know, but the Jets are 2-4. They have much bigger things to worry about right now. Like they play, I assume, winning teams too, and also too, the Steelers should not be focused on just like getting to the wild card. Like we've had enough of that. Let's at least maybe take a risk that there's some magic there with Russell Wilson. I know that you don't believe that at all. I think I'm at least 10% there that maybe get that long. He throws a beautiful long pass. Maybe he runs the offense the way Arthur Smith wants it, because I think Fields is looking down a lot. Like he drops back and then he does not look downfield anymore, for better or worse. That will work against it. It's going to be a close game against the Jets, and you want Justin Fields running the ball in the fourth quarter. So I would go with him. But after that, like a certain point, like you kind of got to vary this offense up a little bit, or teams are going to catch up with you.
855-212-4227. Starting Russell Wilson now? Would you be in favor of it? Mike Tomlin says it's on the table. It's possible. Media's reporting Russell Wilson's in line to start. Let's get to our great debate and update everyone if you were not joining us in the last hour of the show. Today's great debate, which we do on every Wednesday. Who's the greatest postseason baseball player of all time? EJ, would you like to brag about the early poll results?
Yes. So we asked the question, who is the greatest postseason baseball player of all time? Madison Bumgarner, Maggie's choice, comes in at 13%. Babe Ruth, who is Perloff's choice, comes in at 19%. My choice of Mariano Rivera at 49% right now.
Wow.
David Ortiz is at 18%. That was Boger's pick. Ryan, unfortunately, did not make the cut. He had Derek Jeter on this list.
I feel like Jeter probably would have gotten a lot.
I didn't want to have two Yankees on there. I thought that was unfair to the audience.
Jeter was good. I mean, I don't think Jeter has a legit argument as the greatest playoff player of all time.
It's the iconic plays. It's the Gatorade commercial worthy stuff.
Yeah, the home run against the Orioles, the flip play. He just has these moments that make people think, "Wow, there's the captain."
Let's go to the phones, 855-212-4227. Charles is our friend in Maine. Charles, who's the greatest postseason baseball player of all time?
Well, good morning, and let me first say, since you were talking about it, as a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan, if the Steelers ever fire Mike Tomlin or the Ravens ever fire John Harbaugh, for that matter, they are both welcome.
Is Coach the problem with your team?
No, Stefanski's looking for a ripcord on his parachute right now.
I get it.
You think No, I mean, and I think, by the way, you will like having Cooper. He's been mailing it all season, and it's hard to blame him with that show.
He'll be nice and fresh. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I called about the great debate, and if you're going to have Madison Bumgarner in there, you've got to mention Sandy Koufax.
Yeah. I love Sandy Koufax.
Well, and I wasn't even alive when he did these things, but I read a lot about him. He had 15 strikeouts in his first World Series start in Yankee Stadium in 1963. He had back-to-back shutouts on 2 days' rest in 1965 against the Twins. I mean, you could look it up, as Yogi once said, but that is what he did. And if you're going to have Madison Bumgarner, who I have seen, you got to have Sandy Koufax at least as a thought.
Charles, it's a great thought. I'm sorry, Perloff. Thank you for making it. Now, but this is exactly why I didn't pick Koufax and I went with Bumgarner, is because Koufax has 8 postseason games in his career. Madison Bumgarner has double that. So it's just there weren't enough games. That's why. Literally, Sandy 8, Madison Bumgarner 16.
I would put Gibson right there, too. Just like the image of Gibson on the mound in the World Series. That feels like that was such a famous World Series. One of them was. I mean, he went to a few. How many MVPs did Bumgarner win the World Series? Did he win all 3?
No, one World Series MVP.
So how many do Gibson and Koufax have? I think they both have.
Gibson has 2. He's one of the few that have 2.
Sandy has 2.
Sandy has 2. So yeah, I mean, I think all 3 of those guys. Where's Schilling on that list of World Series guys? Like he's pretty good in the playoffs too.
Yeah, Schilling was amazing. Kevin is in Tampa. We'll get back to the great debate in a moment, but we're having a big discussion about what the Rays should do with the stadium. Now, if you remember from the last hurricane, the roof of the stadium just blew off. It's not a hard roof. It's like a softer roof, and it just totally was devastated and destroyed. Now the Rays aren't sure if the stadium could be ready for the next season, and do they want to rebuild it anyway when they're about to move into a new stadium in a couple of years? Kevin, what's the thought of Rays fans in Tampa?
Well, the reason nobody goes to the games is because if you've ever been to Tropicana, that's why. It's just not a ballpark you want to go to.
Yeah.
And so thank God the hurricane blew the roof off, so now they've got to do something. It's just it's the least conducive ballpark to watch baseball in all of baseball. So,
Kevin, what's your biggest gripe with the stadium?
Be a good choice.
What's your biggest gripe with the stadium? People maybe don't live in Tampa. They hear that the stadium's a dump, but what about it is the worst?
It doesn't feel like baseball. Part of it is, there's only the seating in the outfield is just, it's tight, it's small. And then even when you get some more generous seats, it's like you're in your living room and the TV reception isn't good.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Detroit, original Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park.
Yeah, beautiful.
I'm used to real baseball.
Yeah.
And so this is not. And a good friend of mine wanted to hit all the stadiums before he died, and he was going to come down here next spring and visit Tropicana. But now I don't think he's going to get that chance, and I don't think it's going to hurt him not to see it.
29 out of 30 ain't bad. Yeah.
Kevin, how's everything else down there? What's it like?
It's pretty rough. The good news is the storm went south of the bay, so most of the surge did not get up in there because a lot of friends. I mean, I live just a little bit inland, and I'm at 26 feet, so I didn't get. But people like 2 miles from me who are right on the water. Water was all the way up 2-3 feet in their house, and their houses were gone. And if that surge had come in again, what little they had left would have been totally gone. But some people lost everything. People on the like the Keys, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, some of them lost everything, and other people weren't touched. It was one of the weirdest things. It just depended on where you were, and we had a lot of wind. Lost all my screening in my lanai, but we fortunately weren't touched. A lot of houses in my neighborhood lost their roofs. I mean, shingles and stuff. They're going to have to re-roof, but thankfully. I haven't heard a lot of deaths or anything like that in our area, but it was a pretty bad storm.
Oh man, Kevin, well, we're still thinking about everybody down there and sending you our best, and thank you for letting us know the vibe as far as the stadium is concerned. But we haven't forgotten about you guys.
I have a friend whose parents are in Siesta Key, and I think both keys, they were the first place to get hit by the hurricane, and it was really bad. They got a little lucky; their house was still standing, but I mean, the bang bang of the two hurricanes feel terrible.
And okay. Well, hopefully we can just provide even a small distraction with our silly sports stuff. Coming up, we have to check in on our favorite college football coach. We'll do that next. It's Maggie and Perloff. Okay, sports fans, listen up. This one's important. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Boyd in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
A lot. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray and Perloff. Besides shadow running the New York Jets.
I watched the Pat McAfee show interview yesterday with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why. I've just sort of fallen into a pattern where I'm seeing this now. He is, I'm telling you, he's compelling. Like, that guy would be amazing in the TV booth.
Yeah, if he's not in a cave in Costa Rica somewhere.
He can talk the talk. If you don't stop to think about what he's saying, you're like, that's a good point, Aaron. That's a good point, Aaron. That's a good point, Aaron.
If you're also on ayahuasca, it makes tons of sense.
He even threw, and we're about to get into it, he even threw someone under the bus. I'm like, yeah, that's a really valid point. But go ahead.
Okay, so it was a Pat McAfee show yesterday. Rodgers continues, tsunami could be heading towards the shore, and he'd be like, wait, but I got to do McAfee first, which is awesome because we get to talk about it, so thank you for being so consistent. Davante Adams even made an appearance on the show yesterday, but there was a moment where they asked him about a post-game question he answered about the final play of the Jets offense for Monday night, where he underthrows Mike Williams. And he says that Williams ran the wrong route. So he got some backlash for it because generally we don't really hear quarterbacks calling out receivers in such a specific way like that. Usually just get the platitudes and then you move on. So here's Rodgers doubling down on Mike Williams running the wrong route.
If you're looking at just that play, that's what the question was. What happened on that play? Well, it was two verticals to the right side, and Mike needed to get width to the red line, which would have been a big gain. So I wasn't calling Mike out for anything other than his responsibility and the details in that play. I have a lot of love and respect for Mike. He did some nice things for us. On that play, he wasn't in the right spot. You can make more of that if you want to, but we all should be held to a standard.
Rodgers also said he holds himself to a high standard, so he points to himself when he screws up as well.
I hold myself to a standard of greatness, and when it hasn't been there, which it hasn't been at certain times, I've stood up there and said, I got to play better.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. I really, and actually, I logistically don't understand what he's talking about, the right route. It wasn't like an 8-yard button hook. I just looked at the video. Rodgers released the ball at his own 30, and the ball was intercepted at about the 19-yard line. The ball traveled 50 feet in the air.
Yards.
50 yards in the air. That's a bomb. That's like a Hail Mary. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not like you run a precise route 50 yards down the field. There were 3 Bills who were looming around in the area. It was kind of just like a 50-50 ball. I don't know, like, at a certain point, like, it's not precise route running when you're 50 yards away. I don't know, like, when you think of a route is an intermediate route. That's just a fly pattern. Like, I'm not sure what he's talking about. He said he had to get to the red line. I assume he's talking about the 20, and Williams tripped and wasn't able to finish the route. But it wasn't like, that was not a high probability pass. He's not like he missed, like, I just think that, like, it's crazy. It was a gigantic, like, threw it as far as he could.
So it's funny. I wasn't thinking about it that way because Rodgers is so precise. I actually had to look up what the red line is because I'll admit when I don't know stuff, I've never heard of that. It's the area between the numbers and the sideline.
Oh, okay.
So he said he broke in when he was supposed to break out. I've never heard it called the red line before, but I had to look it up. So it's not the 20-yard line, not the red zone, just towards the sideline. Yeah, I had to look it up too.
The ball was in the air for 9 seconds. Like, what route are we talking about? I mean, like, you could see there was 2 Bills who there were Bills all over the place because it was a Hail Mary type pass. Yeah. I'm not sure. It's not a route thing. Like, Williams fell. He was going to have to fight. There's no way he was going to have a clean shot at it. It wasn't like he was standing there wide open. He was literally 50 yards away from Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but it's funny that you said it was like a Hail Mary type pass because Rodgers is like the most accurate Hail Mary quarterback in history. So even the Hail Marys, there's like a thought behind it. It's not just throwing it up. He's like really aiming it.
Oh, come on.
He says that.
Yeah, I hear you, but it's still a jump ball by definition.
Totally.
Like, that was not like, I don't know, calling for a blown route. If he had been able to keep his footing and not fall on that ridiculous turf, he would have been able to fight for the ball. But there's no way that was going to be like, it was not like he was standing wide open 50 yards away. I'm not sure. Also, Williams got turned around a couple times in the air. I'm sure Williams is a mess. There's no doubt about it. I don't know. It just feels like a weird thing to say. He obviously, it was 3rd and 16. Can we all agree he should have thrown the short pass and not gone for 50 yards in a chunk, which he didn't even need 50 yards.
I think that's the thing that's frustrating about this to people who are kind of sick of Aaron Rodgers or thinks that it's like people in glass houses. You know, he didn't stand up on McAfee and say, as far as I remember, I listened to the interview, Breece Hall was right there. I should have thrown to him. Maybe he did say that, actually. He might have said it. He definitely will say a generic, I messed up. But you know what would definitely not happen? Mike Williams wouldn't go to the podium and say Aaron Rodgers missed Breece Hall. That would never, ever happen. It wouldn't happen with Davante Adams. It wouldn't happen with Mike Williams. It wouldn't happen with Garrett Wilson. No, this road doesn't run both ways.
Yeah, but does it any team? Wide receivers can't, in the press conference, say something bad about the quarterback. They can yell at them on the sideline.
Calvin Ridley did. But that's about Will Levis. So, I mean.
Well, I know, but that was about the coaching staff, right? Saying you got to get me involved more early. Was that about Levis?
And also the targets, I would put air quotes around those.
Right. I thought that was about the offensive coach. Like,
that's true. Maybe he saw that the winds are swirling, that these trades are being made, and he's trying to get out, even though he just signed with the Titans.
We also have dudes wearing messages on their eye black, too, about being open. So there are some talkative wide receivers.
Pickens.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm watching them play again. The Mike Williams play. There's a safety. The guy who made the pick was
Johnson?
Yeah. He made the pick. So he comes over to Mike Williams. There's a cornerback that was probably assigned Mike Williams who is a good 30 yards away from any Jets player, just sort of hanging out. You got to see this video. Like, I'm not sure what happened to the Bills on that play.
They got lucky.
Yeah. This
lucky.
doesn't work on the radio, but when Bogus is giving the headlines, tell me what this cornerback on the Bills is doing. Like, who is he covering?
So I actually think Mike Williams was the intended target at the end of the Vikings game, too.
Yeah, and he underthrew that one.
So I think Aaron Rodgers hates Mike Williams. I don't know if Mike Williams is not paying attention. I don't know if Mike Williams is never running the right route. I don't know if Mike Williams doesn't practice hard enough. Maybe he's doing nothing wrong. But this seems to be a Mike Williams specific problem. Not that not that I'm excusing Rodgers, but I think he's particularly frustrated with Mike Williams.
Perloff. It's DeMar Hamlin.
Oh, is that? I couldn't see. Who's he covering?
Heck if I know.
Yeah, I mean, that ball, it's like,
He's
that ball.
protecting the vibes.
Yeah, we were talking about the route. The ball was in the air for a long, long time.
Yeah, so I don't think it's as much as a Hail Mary or 50-50 as you say it is, but to me, the problem is Mike Williams falling down, not being in the right spot, because the ball lands where Mike Williams was standing, and if he could stand and plant his feet, Taron Johnson doesn't get to the ball, but Mike Williams
he would have had to
falling
fight for
down
it, but he
gives
would have
him
gotten
the-
hit immediately. Like, it wasn't like he had
But it
a
would have
ton
been a
of
first
time.
down.
No, I mean, there's no guarantee that Mike Williams would have caught. That ball was so like Johnson was going to get there not long after the catch. He would have had to take it. And every time a Jets guy caught the ball, someone popped him and he dropped it.
Yeah, but it's not like the ball was 5 feet to the side of where Mike Williams was. It was where Mike Williams was going until he fell down. So it doesn't look like he's running the wrong route. It looks like he just can't run. And he ends up on his butt, and then there's a pick.
I also think that there's a question about Rodgers even taking that shot.
Oh, yeah.
When you have 2 downs to get 16 yards.
Yes.
And we know Mike Williams is having a problem. Like, that's the thing I can't stand is, like, when you know a guy's unreliable. And typically when we hear that, Tom Brady will say all the time, if a guy's unreliable, he's not getting the ball the whole game.
Right.
I mean, he said that on broadcast. He says that on podcasts all the time. And Rodgers knows Mike Williams has been unreliable. And I think some of that's because he's coming from an ACL injury. I want to be respectful of that a little bit. But, like, you know he's unreliable. So why are you throwing him the ball when he already ran the wrong route? I thought actually Emmanuel Ochoa had a really good breakdown of how that route was dead from arrival because he's supposed to run on the outside. He takes an inside route, which screws up everything. It's actually
From the snap, he's inside of the corner?
Yeah, Lazard should have had a touchdown on this play if Mike Williams runs the right route. Because he takes an inside release against a cover 2, not to get too in the weeds, but like it just threw everything off. So the play is already dead at that point. And he's trying to save it by playing hero ball with a guy who's unreliable. Take the ball, check it down to Breece Hall, and get 10 yards. Now you're 4th and 6 with a chance to win the game.
The way that game was going, who knows? Maybe you get a face mask on Breece Hall. Maybe you get 15 yards. They're throwing flags all over the place.
Right.
It could have, I don't know.
I mean, listen, I think it's a little unfair. Like, we always say, the quarterback, had an open guy. Like, who knows what the quarterback's seeing? Like, it's hard back there.
But that's why it's frustrating when Rodgers is so pointedly calling out other people. You know it's hard.
Yeah,
but
but
you're not perfect. And again, Mike Williams can't stand up at a podium and say Aaron Rodgers missed Breece Hall. It just doesn't happen. So let's get to some headlines, shall we?
The Yankees have a 2-0 lead on the Guardians in the ALCS, but they were far from perfect in last night's 6-3 home win. Garrett Cole didn't get through the 5th inning, allowing 6 hits, walking 4. And this was just a 2-run game through 6 because the Yanks kept making outs on the bases.
A bouncer, and Rizzo is going to be picked off. He's in the middle between 2nd and 3rd. Hedges now throws to 2nd. On the way to 3rd, back to 2nd, back to 3rd, tagged out, end of inning. Boy, if that wasn't the Yankees, that's what they do, run the bases like drunks.
I checked. That's not an Andrew Kaplan AI creation. John Sterling said that about the Yankees. This is why he did not come out of retirement for this.
Yeah.
For boneheaded base running.
That's called I don't care anymore. I'm just going to say what I think.
Poor Susan Wall in the background grunting through all of that, and then John calls them drunks.
They won that game.
They won that game.
They've been playing great baseball.
I just love the play-by-play because it's radio, so you got to do it. It's like 2nd to 3rd to 3rd to 2nd to 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thrown a player's name in there at some point. One of them is Jose Ramirez, like one of the stars of the game, and he was just like, to 3rd base.
Perloff, who's your prize picks for today? I'm thinking Mark Vientos, 1.5 hits, runs, RBI.
Unfortunately for you, I've already claimed that.
I was going to do that with Courtney Williams of the Minnesota Lynx over 13.5 points, but that's just...
Could you imagine John Sterling had to cover the White Sox if he was doing those games? If he thinks that the Yankees 90-plus wins are running the bases like drunks, like imagine if he had to call a 121-loss team like the White Sox.
I mean, Sterling was there in the 80s. He saw some bad baseball.
That is true.
and he wouldn't have come back this time around had they not turned things around. If they stayed in the funk in July that made Maggie place that bet, he's not coming back. He came back because he knew there were going to be playoff games to be won. Bad base running or not.
Smart move.
There were some good things from the Yanks last night. They turned 2 Cleveland errors into 2 runs. Aaron Judge hit his first homer of this postseason, and their pitching staff left 11 Guardians on base. Game 3 in Cleveland tomorrow. The Mets and Dodgers play their Game 3 at Eastern in Queens after splitting in L.A. Luis Severino and Walker Buehler on the mound for that one. The Detroit Lions have signed D-tackle Aleem McNeil to a 4-year extension, $55 million guaranteed. He's the 3rd member of their 2021 draft class to get extended, joining Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Packers reportedly signing veteran kicker Brandon McManus, and Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas said to be out indefinitely with a left foot injury. It could be season-ending. Colorado should have Travis Hunter and wideout Jimmy Horn this weekend after getting hurt in Saturday's loss to K-State. Bronny James had 2 points and a rebound in 9 minutes in the Lakers' 111-97 preseason loss to the Warriors in Vegas last night. And we can all relax now. The Edmonton Oilers have their first win of this young NHL season.
McDavid, he's got a breakaway here in OT. McDavid, oh, that just goes off the post, the toe. Now Draisaitl scores! Leon Draisaitl!
Jack Michaels, Oilers radio. Connor McDavid missing the breakaway. The puck finds Leon Draisaitl. He scores. Oilers win 4-3 in OT over the Flyers.
All right, super into hockey right now. I'll tell you why. Does anyone here know the show Shoresy? Has anyone ever heard of Shoresy?
I've heard of it.
So it's a show on Hulu. It's a hockey comedy, and there's no better hot comedy than hockey comedy. It is the most Canadian show. It's the guys who did Letterkenny, which is a long-running Canadian sitcom. It is about this violent minor league hockey team. I highly recommend, and do not watch it with your kids. This is the dirtiest show I've ever seen, and it's just like the game starts and it's time to throw them down. It's like Slapshot, the movie, time of the show. So I think we embrace hockey this year.
I mean, I'm all for that, but I think that you find everything that's on TV.
This is popular. This is a popular show.
Yeah, Shoresy's a big deal, yeah. But I was a big anybody Letterkenny fans. That's sort of a big cult show. It's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia of Canada. It's pretty funny. It's kind of like a critical favorite. That being
what else
said,
are you watching, Pearl? You were talking the other day.
There's nothing on right now.
Wait,
go to bed.
Sports. This is hilarious. Can I tell them what you told me yesterday? You might not remember about going to your parents' house over the weekend.
Oh, wait, I was flipping around. There were new channels of all kinds of things. Yeah, what did I watch? I can't even remember.
So Perloff turns and he goes, so I was at my parents' house and I don't know their channels. So I was flipping around trying to find the game. And man, that Hallmark channel really has some good movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
There's this, it was great. It was one, I think it's called You Can't Dump My Daughter. And it's basically this high school quarterback stud breaks up with a high school girlfriend. And I actually didn't finish it because the Oregon Ohio State game got close. But I think the mom kills the boyfriend.
On the Hallmark Channel?
Oh, yeah.
Do they do that?
Yeah, no, there were a lot of murder mystery kind of things.
Oh, I
too.
thought it was all lovey-dovey on that.
Well, I just assumed they're doing Christmas movies. We're in October.
Oh, there's some dark stuff on there, too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Are you suddenly interested now that you know there's murder on the Hallmark Channel?
I mean, no, but that gives it a little more street cred. If a person dies every once in a while on Hallmark.
The Perloff viewing of in the weekend at his parents' house was hilarious because he also was like giving me a Pete Bellotti-esque breakdown on what's happening on WWE NXT.
That was amazing.
He was like, Tony D'Angelo and the family are just the funniest thing, and Obafemi, and I'm like, whoa.
There's this wrestler who has the Sopranos crew in the corner, and it is such an open cliche, and they got to bring them up to the big time. EJ, I was very entertained.
This was incredible to me.
We'll
Hallmark,
send a note
NXT.
over to Nick Khan. Or Triple H, I guess, more likely. Perloff watches the Hallmark Channel.
Have you ever seen the Will Ferrell Hallmark? Has anyone watched it? So Will Ferrell and all his friends did a Hallmark movie, but they did it, and I heard Will Ferrell talk about it. They did it straight.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have any comedy in it. It was just like a normal Hallmark movie.
And was on the channel?
It was on the channel. Will Ferrell's like the husband, and I got to find the spot. He has no jokes in the entire
thing. So the whole thing is a bit, but not funny.
Yeah. The show that's getting a lot of attention. Will Ferrell's driving cross country.
Yeah, it's really good.
He talks a lot about. I think the guy, the woman he's driving cross country with, came up with the Hallmark idea. That was one of their big. And it's like Will Ferrell's proudest moment. He's like, they let me do a Hallmark movie, and I don't tell any joke.
Does anyone get murdered?
It's called A Deadly Adoption. It's Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig. I saw a clip of it, and there's no jokes.
Okay, but here's the thing about Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig specifically. They don't even have to be being funny to be funny.
Oh, of course
Everything
not.
they do is funny. It's probably like a blessing and a curse in real life. Because everything you do, you probably can't have a serious conversation with anybody because people are just laughing.
Yeah.
By the way, Travis Kelce and Taylor are getting Hallmarkified. They're doing a Hallmark about Taylor, about a pop star.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm sure Law and Order's jumping on that one too.
Law and Order.
Yeah. I don't know. They like
Jerry Orbach's going to do what? Break them up?
Another murder?
Yeah. I mean, celebrity fan. shows up dead. Yeah, they'll definitely get into this. All these shows. If you watch, by the way, there's a couple shows that are my parents told me are good. The one, Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
She was on Game Day.
Yeah, it has a lot. It's called High
Potential.
High Potential. That show, I'm a huge Sunny in Philadelphia fan, so I'm very excited about that. She's from Oregon. I didn't even know that.
She
got
was
on Game Day.
On the Game Day set, picking
And I'm
the
hearing a
Ducks.
lot of buzz about Dr. Odyssey with Don Johnson. I just want to throw that out there.
You're hearing a lot of buzz?
Well, yes.
And what, your mom's breakfast nook? What does that
the
mean?
commercials are showing a lot on Monday Night Football.
It's just a text from Carol.
No, I just I don't know. I follow TV. I'm a huge TV fan, and Dr. Odyssey with Don Johnson, count me in. I've never seen an episode, but I want to know more about this.
A lot of buzz on my mom's sun porch about Dr. Odyssey.
You guys are such coastal elites. Like, people are watching these shows.
You can't find them. Everything's on. I don't have Apple Face. You know.
No, these are on real channels. These are on free channels.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
ABC,
I know them
NBC
from the football commercials. I don't know them
Jeez.
from the show. Yeah.
Sorry, I only know that Davante Adams has a Taco Bell in his home, which he confirmed yesterday.
I did see the one with Pacey from Dawson's Creek, who's like a doctor on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that the Don Johnson show, actually?
That's Dr. Odyssey.
Yeah, but he's not the main character.
If you had said the guy from Dawson's Creek, then we would have known.
That's the guy from Dawson's Creek?
Yeah.
Wow, he looks different.
He looks
Josh Jackson,
handsome.
is that his name?
Something like that, yeah.
I thought Caitlin Olsen looks different too. I don't know what it is. Maybe her hair's a little darker than it is than it's been on Always Sunny, but like
that one you can recognize her.
I know, I can't.
Yeah.
You can recognize her, but every time I watch those commercials, I'm like, is that the same woman from
It's
Always
a
Sunny?
different role. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
What
Which
about
is
the
great.
one, I've never seen this show, but the airs on Fox, where there's a maid who's secretly a CIA agent? Have you guys seen the ad
Yes,
for that?
the Maid, I think it's called, right?
Oh, I'm
I heard
all
it's
into the
great.
commercials for that.
What's her name? I can't remember her name now. Elodie Young is a fantastic actress.
Is that show still out there?
I think it's still on.
Yeah. We should not play. I mean, these are popular shows. We got to get with the times, people. Maggie, you got to sit down and watch an episode of Dr. Odyssey.
Pass. I'd rather watch the Steelers offense. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do. We check in with Deion Sanders next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Daily.
Do you believe that?
Dion.
You believe that?
Haven't checked in on Dion in a minute. Deion Sanders talking about the Colorado Buffaloes' loss to Kansas State, said it was a wake-up call.
Sometimes you get intoxicated a little bit with winning and start thinking that you're really like that. And this Saturday was a wake-up call for a multitude of us.
I was a little surprised by this, Perloff, because the Buffs are 4-2. It's not like they're undefeated. So I was a little surprised that I guess they would get intoxicated. I know they would won 3 straight, but I was a little surprised they needed a wake-up call. Anyway, it was a close game, as they mostly are, for Colorado.
Well, not the second half of last year. They did get stomped a couple times.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But, so wait, you're surprised about the wake-up call, or are you surprised about what's happening next?
No. Oh, about what? About Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised that Travis Hunter is going to play. It looks like he's going to suit up against Arizona. I think there's a real possibility that, and a real conversation, rather, that he should be having with Deion and others, but whether he plays again in college football. Travis Hunter is going to be a top 5 at the most pick in the NFL draft. Perloff, this is guaranteed money that's going to blow NIL out of the water. He's got to be thinking about this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, listen, a great matchup. We want to see him he would go one-on-one with the Arizona wide receiver, who's in top 5 in every mock draft as well. I will not say his name. Can anyone say it correctly? Aroa McMillan. I would love to see that. I hope that they do play. I saw a mock draft where McMillan is number 1 overall, according to the 33rd team. So that is I kind of want to see this. I'm not sure Travis Hunter is so sealed as an NFL draft prospect because he's in between cornerback and wide receiver. If you're drafting him top 5, what is he?
I think he's a playmaker. Now, I don't think he can play both.
McCole Hardman's a playmaker. Tell me what you mean here.
Well,
that's what I mean. We don't know yet.
I don't know. What's Deebo Samuel? It doesn't have to be McCole Hardman.
I need to know more specifically what side of the ball is this dude on? Not what is he, a running back or a wide receiver? Is he defense? Is he offense? You drafting a cornerback? You drafting a wide receiver? I still think his draft status is not perfectly secure. You're right. I understand
the draft status is. I guess he's going to have to decide, or maybe he doesn't, but he can't play every snap both ways. Obviously, that's not working
Right,
out.
but if you take him number 3 overall, I mean, that's a huge investment. I think you have to know what's going on here.
I think he would play corner, personally. Chuck is in Michigan, though. Want to grab Chuck here before the end of the show. Chuck, you have a few seconds here to talk about the Jets culture.
Well, here's the thing. Jets hasn't done anything since 1969 when Namath was there, right?
Yeah.
That's the last time they even sniffed the Super Bowl, right?
What year did you say? 1979?
69.
69.
Back-to-back AFC
69.
championship games in 2010.
Yeah, 69. Remember when the Nets and the Jets won? Nets, Jets, and the Mets won their thing. Remember? With Dr. J? But listen here. You know, they have a lot of good quarterbacks in New York, and what's his name's coming over now for Green Bay. He's not going to help them. Neither is Davante Adams. Like I was telling you, a screener there.
Yeah.
Their best quarterback hasn't even been born yet.
Chuck,
right?
thank you very much. I'm sorry we're up against it.
Jets did make the AFC title game in 81 or 82, or the year that Don Shula let the rain sit on the field.
They made it in 2009, 2010.
Yeah. I did like the idea that Jets quarterback is not born. That's depressing.
Later on for Arch Manning. Thank you, EJ. Thank you, Ryan Botcher. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. Nobody knows.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.